because I'm trying to figure this thing out.
And
we the kids, I'll just mute myself.
All right. And we are live. I think.
Yep. Says live.
And the kids, I'll just mute myself. All right. And we are live. That's not me this time.
Yeah, it was me. Every freaking time.
Yep. But so what's the topic this week, guys? Or do we even have a topic? George Gooding says, "I hear voices." Well, it's either us or you need to go talk to a doctor. And I want to thank What?
Nothing, dear.
And I want to thank 6-Shooter Texan because of the pellet holder that he ordered and I sent off today. I was able to get me a Black and Mild plastic tip cigar. They were out of wood tips. Yeah. That cashier lady thought, "Hi, Pat Putnam." Yeah. Oh, yeah. George asked about your fishing trip, Duke. So, what kind of catfish were you fishing for?
We always fishing for anything that would bite, but we caught the first catfish tonight, 3-pounder, which is the biggest catfish we've caught in probably 5 years because all the lakes real close to me went dry, probably 5 or 6 years ago. So there ain't really anything in them worth catching right now. But a big boar on the river about 60 miles east of me. We decided to go fish that. And once that smaller cat started biting, we started getting bites from bigger ones. I lost a 7-pounder, and my dad lost a couple 10-pounders, and then I lost about a 15-pounder. Didn't even see him. All I seen was his tail, and judging by the width of his tail, I'm guessing he was about 15 pounds.
What kind of did he snap the line, get off the hook? What happened?
Damn cats, they pick up that bait and they pull, but as soon as you'd start reeling them in, they quit fighting. They just go limp. So you'd reel them in, and then they get to the shore, and of course we're fishing at night, shine the flashlight on them to get the net on them. As soon as that light hit them, boom, gone, and they'd spit the hook out. They never once got hooked.
I use those mini treble hooks.
Yeah. Well, where we was fishing at, we was on a rock ledge, and about 10 feet in front of us, the water drops off 80 feet deep.
Oh, okay.
So, we was pulling these cats straight up and then bringing them back on the shallow part. And I was afraid they'd get hooked up, but we had a lot of bites where they grab the line and then they'd drop it somewhere out in the water and it'd get hooked up in something. And yeah, I was kind of disappointing, but I caught a lot of fish. I mean, we caught more fish that night than I caught in the last 3 years. Caught a lot of drum and a lot of bluegill and some crappie, and we wound up going home with about 2 cats, smaller 2 or 3 pounders, a couple bullheads, and lots of carp. Carp are biting like crazy.
Carp usually is. 6-Shooter Texan. By the way, your pellet holder is on its way. I think I sent that email with the tracking number and everything, and I want to thank you for tonight's cigar. And Pat Putnam says, "I hope Duke is positively buoyant for fishing. I'm not. I hit net new buoyancy around 20 feet down. Sucks."
There's a reason why I don't go out on a boat. I stay on shore.
I don't have any luck fishing off of a shore. I have to be in a boat to catch anything. It's always been that way. But my fishing pole. Okay, that's good, 6-Shooter. I hope it. They say it should be there by Monday, but I'm thinking more like Wednesday. Because I didn't get to send it yesterday. Just a lot happened, and by the time it was done with my local post office and UPS store was closed. So I sent it today. I really hope you like it. Um, but no, my fishing rod is one of those little collapsible ones because I go camping a lot, so that way, I have room for it in there. I can, no matter where I would go, usually there's a lake nearby I can catch fish. Right? I use a treble hook, and then I use the deep sea line gauge line.
Right.
That really thick, super strong, but meant to catch marlin, swordfish stuff. That way I have to cut the line, not pop it. That fish can't pop it. I got tired of that every time some catfish get on it and just I'm sitting there fighting them and or alligator gar.
Now, where we was fishing at straight south of us, across the lake, which the lake's not more than 2 miles wide, there's a big railroad trestle, and it goes over a canyon because where they put this dam up was kind of a canyon country. Anyway, there were some guys last month, back in June, they was fishing underneath that railroad trestle, and they caught a 40-pound channel cat.
Damn.
So there's some big cats down in there. So I took my big reels. I didn't take my little ones because I had a 35-pound carp tear up a fly rod one day because I was fishing with the wrong equipment in the wrong lake.
Hold on. Let me go refresh my cup of coffee and grab my fishing pole. My step grandpa gave it to me. He used to do a lot of fishing down in Texas with it, and I've been using that. So I don't know what it actually is. Like I said, let me go refresh my cup of coffee. I'm going to do that before we started. Oopsie. My bad. I'm not prepared for tonight's live stream, apparently.
I'll read off a couple of comments here. George Gooding said one of his friends has the old pocket fisherman that he still uses. I remember having one of those. Remember my sister catching I don't remember how big that carp was. I know he was about 4 foot long. That was the last time Dad let us fish with those little pocket poles when we was at the big lakes. We could only use them with the little ponds where the little fish were at. Yeah, Pat Putnam ballast tanks are nice.
We'll go in the morning and get that bag about 9 o'clock. Y'all be ready, Mr. King?
Oh, thank God. Oh.
That's where a cricket would come in handy.
Sorry. Yeah, here's the. I'm back. Okay, hold on.
Slick Shooter, I had to approve your message because apparently Slick Shot Nipples was held for review.
Yeah. Because it was talking about nipples, apparently.
Yeah, now make sure you torque your nipples tight and don't overram your balls.
Oh, God.
Oh, I did a video about. I had uploaded a video about dry balling today. How to deball. What do I call it? Deballing your cap and ball revolver, or something like that. It's not public yet.
Yeah. How to neuter your cap and ball revolver.
I should have named it that. But I try to do it kind of like you would do it. Information. You see the revolver more often. Than myself.
The way things are on YouTube, I'm just about ready just to throw the hat in and just say the education will do more fun because YouTube tries to screw me every chance they can get. So
Yeah, it seems like Arkansas hates them too.
yeah,
Here's my rod.
there are many like it, but this one is mine.
Yes. Oh, I got to put it over here. Yeah, this is. Yeah, and the cool. What I love about it is. Uh, it collapses.
Those work nice until you get about a 20-pound cat on the end of them.
I've had a 20 pound on this one.
Depends on their mood. See, I watched my
Yeah.
grandmother land a 15-pound cat with a little bitty trout rod. And, of course, about the time he got in, 6-pound test line, real light, they're fishing for trout. And, yeah, she got that cat in, and as soon as we touched it with a net, he just kind of flipped his head and broke the line and was gone. But then I've seen those cats where they hit the end of 20-pound test line and you start reeling them in, all of a sudden they break that too.
Okay, hold on. Okay, that's fine. I've only got one word, but of course, community guideline crap. I guess I don't know. Yeah, Pat Punham. That's been going on for about a year now. I've been part of
Yeah.
it.
I hadn't heard of
joined
that.
the YouTube. I joined about it. Just keep up, see what's going on, see if they actually can do anything. And right now they've got it. They've kind of got YouTube nuts in a bag. Kinda, but not 100%. They've partnered with a big law firm over in Germany, though, IGM or something like that.
What I want to know is how long they can handle this.
Well, they've got them on. They had like 3 bullet points that they could get them on.
Well, YouTube needs to decide if they're a publisher or if they are a platform. Because if they're a publisher, they can restrict whatever they want. If they're a platform, they cannot do any restrictions.
Well,
Yeah,
that's the same thing with Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, they've claimed to be a platform. Both them and Facebook claim to be a platform, not a publisher.
No, then they got to quit doing all this restriction shit.
Mm-hmm. Now, if they were a publisher, even if they were came out and says, no, we're no longer a platform, we're a publisher, then they have to, come out with a set rules of guidelines that have to be public.
And they make it up as they go along.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? They have to. So they're kind of in a catch can. It's what can we do not to lose billions of dollars? Because over in the EU, they could be fined up to like 10% of their earnings, last year's earnings, for some of the stuff they've been doing, apparently.
Nice.
Yeah, to IG Metal. Yeah, because they have not made it public knowledge that we can look at our own data clearly enough that we know what's going on in something. Yeah, Forgotten. Yeah, the Slingshot channel did it, and Forgotten Weapons. Ian over there, he did a good one on it. He talked about some stuff he. I think some of the stuff he was worried about. I can't remember the video. I've watched some other videos since then, and then he showed basically Jorg's. Most likely, he got in touch with them and said, "Hey, look, I want to do a video on this to get the word out." I wish I had that kind of. I wish I could do that.
Jeremy, one of our politicians, Ted Cruz, he was even questioning Facebook for ruling against for doing censorship on people.
Yeah,
multiple times.
Oh yeah, and I think there's even a lawyer group. What is it? The Freedom People or something?
Freedom Group.
Yeah, Freedom Group. That's it. I figured they had a longer name, but yeah, that's right. They're just the Freedom Group. I think they're trying to get together some lawsuits against YouTube, Facebook, Twitter because they've been censoring a lot of people, but they're supposed to be a platform for the First Amendment, and then they're restricting the First Amendment, which is against the First Amendment. So therefore, they're that's false advertising.
Well, and plus they get government subsidies and such, which they could lose them. If they're a publisher, they can't get the government subsidies.
Yeah, it seems
But if they're
like
a platform, they can get government subsidies. So, yeah, you'll kind of guess what they're going to choose to be.
Yeah.
The more money.
Well, if they're a publisher and they like I said, they have to say this is the rules. And I guarantee if they say no firearm content whatsoever, places like Utah Gun Exchange is going to freaking blow up. Maybe BitChute, maybe Headspace will get something along. Hey, hi Don. How you doing?
Salutations. High five in the air. So what do you find upstanding gentlemen doing tonight?
Oh shit! I know what you're talking
about. Just talking mainly. Someone brought up about if we had heard about the YouTube Union going after trying to hit YouTube, make them basically take care of either take care of us or tell us to get the hell out of here.
They don't care. They're liberally funded. All right, I haven't offended anybody, so I'm sure this will get somebody. I want to wear my hat tonight. I don't wear it very often.
What the hell are you wearing that damn Yankee hat for? God dang it.
You know how many Johnny Reds walked into combat wearing blue uniforms when they first started?
That is true. It was an awful lot of dead Yanks.
Now I gotta find my rebel hat. I can't find it.
You can ask Don. This is literally the only hat I got.
I support them Yanks.
I can't really complain too much. I got Yank and Rebels on both sides of the family. So
I got my daughter's hat. I could wear this one. I don't know if this is any better or not. It looks better on, well, anything looks better on my daughter than it does on me. There we go. Now we got it going on.
Yep.
See, this hat is supposed to be like your hat, Don, but it don't slope down like yours does.
You got to stretch it.
They don't stretch no more.
See, you know why they're like this, right? See, when they're in garrison, they'd have all the pins and everything on it, and then they would starch it, and it would stand up like this. But when they went out into the field, the starch would wear out, and they'd slowly start to fall down. So they just basically started doing that. And you grab it, you hold it in the back, and you pull it all the way forward, and you lay it down. Then you smack it. There you go.
Mine's only half as tall as yours.
No, I think it's about the same. It should be about the same.
No, it's only
Yeah, it's
mine is only about the width of my hand, length of my hand.
Mine comes down near the palm of my hand right here. Well, like I said, you gotta train it. You gotta smash it. Grab it right here, right there, at about whatever that is, 5 or 7 o'clock, and pull it straight down, and eventually the wheel will start to stretch.
Mine's too short.
It'll get there.
yeah, yours is probably newer than his, dude.
If I take it and I fold it in like this, and then I pull it down.
Well, mine is also a $50 cheap knockoff. Too.
Here's a note. My hat is like 30 years old. It has been on many a cavalry campaigns because everybody used to ask me, Don, why didn't you always ride as a damn Yankee? I said, you know how hard it is to find Yankee cavalry in Texas? I like ride for a saber fight. And I bought this bad boy at the First Cavalry Museum around 1991, and I got the notches to fucking prove it. I have counted many rebel coup with this blade. Back then. When I retired, I sharpened it up real good. I gave one of my best friends about 30 stitches with this thing.
Ooh.
Across it.
Yeah. Yeah, Saber will. All you got was 30 stitches. Dude. Yeah, look.
That saber is taken out about 5 fingers and 3 cats.
Saber.
Yes. Hopefully,
Sabers are not something to play with, and even the one I have, it's a cheap knockoff, but you know it was made in India. That before India, had to flatten their blades, so it actually has a kind of a blade, and it cuts. And I mean, it's cheap stainless steel blade.
That's made in India too, but it was bought back in about 91 from the First CAD Museum. And the difference I was explaining is you can take a combat grade sword and bend it 30 degrees and it'll come back.
Yep.
This one gets about 15 degrees, so it's got 30 degrees both ways. But if I reach back and smack my horse in the butt with it, it would actually curve the blade sometimes. So,
well, mine's thick. I think the guy I got it from, he said he got it about 92.
Shouldn't be blade as mine.
90, yeah. Well, he was an older gentleman, but he got it because it looked good on the wall.
Well, that's all they look for decoration, but we use it for reenacting. The biggest difference is, and we don't have to make this whole thing about sabers, but the biggest difference, if somebody came at me with an original sword, because we're supposed to go flat of the blade to make it look like an engagement, we're actually doing this. That's all we're doing. And at 25, 30 yards, it's close enough to a real saber fight because you don't want to box with the hilt, but you want to keep the point up so you don't stick anybody.
Yeah.
And if I'm coming at somebody in a charge, and they go edge, if they come at me with their edge, they could actually cut my sword in half because of the hardness of their steel. So you have to come straight at you. You got to hit edge to edge. Otherwise, if you hit flat of the blade, they can literally cut it in half. I'm going to step out and get me a Coke right quick. I just got it home.
Yeah, I'm actually wearing pants for once, guys. Here's mine. In actual fighting combat, saber, even saber to saber, you would want to parry with the sides so you didn't dull your niches into your blades. Right, you want to parry like this, and so that way you mess up your cutting edge. So you weren't trying to slice with a serrated blade. You were kind of, like a bread knife.
Well, technically, those sabers were not sharpened. They weren't. That was an option for the wielder, but usually the enlistment didn't have the option. But
Yeah. This is
you had parry right, inverted parry left, parry lance or saber. You would go into the Molinet and come up to hook the bayonet, up parry the musket to strike down at the exposed side, and then there was rear parry. But
this is supposed to be a model. I don't know how accurate it is. It's supposed to be an enlisted men's
that is
cavalry saber.
1860 light cavalry saber.
Yeah. And the reason why I got given it to it is because the chain broke off of it.
I had the exact same sword I bought in the 1980s. I got it at Academy Surplus that became Academy Sports and Outdoors, and I paid $10 for it.
Yeah, I didn't pay that much for it. I got given it.
The only sword I ever played around with a lot was a old 1833 wrist breaker.
Yeah, the Dragoon sword went out in 1840 with that was the last wrist breaker.
Yeah.
Well, there's supposed to be, if I'm not mistaken, some kind of flange thing like here, but it's old. I mean,
like on mine, there's no bolt in the back. They just beat it down with a hammer and flatten it out.
This came with the
hilt up is you basically flatten it back down, and then they wipe it. I used to always get.
I did this part right here to make it because I wanted to put get a different guard for it and to put the flinge on it to make it into an officer's sword. But then I just lost all interest in that project, and that's the byproduct of having that.
If you want that fancy little fringe thing hanging off, you actually tie that around the hilt. You don't, or the basket. You don't tie it to the end.
Well,
yeah, like I said, it was a project I started, and also there's a lot of the techniques I used. Use a slip grip because I use some Polish, some cavalry techniques. Polish saber fighting and some U.S. cavalry techniques, and some Polish have the slip where the sword slides a little bit to get you a little extra reach, and that would have been in my way. I would have lost a little bit of reach, so I did this, and then, like I said, lost interest in the project because it was becoming a pain in the arse. Because I had to do all this leather working, all this redo this. It was just becoming a nope. So I just put it back. So I put it back together and said nope. But I saw that video that you did, the best hunting rifle. The 2 videos that you did on that. I don't know if you read my comment on that on the Facebook group.
I don't think I've seen it.
My grandpa used to say the best rifle for hunting is the one that you trusted the most and you could hit with 99% of the time. Because you're always going to have a flyer. But did Duke take a drink from a jug? I just saw Pat Pundum's comment.
Yeah.
Oh. Wrong kind of jug, Pat Pundum. He's just drinking water. I don't think he's going to drink any more of that jalapeno liquor.
Oh, I got some. I got some jalapeno.
I learned my lesson on my little homemade shine. Whew. That's a special occasion bottle now. That's for weddings and funerals.
One thing I never liked about
Hi,
Glock
Becky. How are you doing?
is I don't like leaving them loaded in the house.
What's that, Don?
Well,
I
yeah.
said, one thing I don't like about Glocks is I don't like leaving them loaded in the house, in the chamber.
Oh. Yeah. I don't blame you there.
1911s, anything with a positive safety, yeah, but the Glocks, when you just pick it up and have a brain fart and squeeze that trigger, I don't like it. You got like a Serpa holster or something that'll actually lock it and contain the whole thing, and not so bad, but it's one of my little phobias. This is the one I started carrying as my everyday carry whenever I don't want to go out with the 6-gun.
I got the Smith and Wesson knockoff of that one.
The SD9 or whatever,
40.
SD40.
Hey, Plowboy.
Hey,
I don't know what you mean by the radio check. If the radio check means that you're making sure you're coming in, you are. If you wanted a link, we can do that as well. Can I not hear anything? Let me mute myself and see real quick. Y'all say a bunch of random nonsense. Sure. What's going on here now? Come on now. There we go.
Uncle Jim's in the house.
Yeah, and apparently he's had some Uncle Heem. Let me see if I can figure this stuff out now. Someone said they couldn't hear anything. My headset. I'm gonna see. I'm gonna make sure it's not just him.
I think they was talking about the radio.
Oh,
That
okay.
and Boy, we're joking back and forth.
Oh, okay. Well, that's okay. I ain't gonna do all that work then. Plural. I have noticed since I've made this new Facebook page, I have gotten so many freaking friend requests from people I don't even know. Hi, Vanessa Kitty. Oh, you were picking on it? Okay. But, oh yeah, Don, while I've got you here, what's the length on the Schofield cartridges? Like the overall length? I've got some messed up 45 Colt brass. I was hoping to maybe turn into 45 Schofield.
Well, give me a second.
You know, if I could reuse the brass, that'd be nice.
You can reuse the brass. It can be kind of a pain in the butt. And that's why I eventually, right here in front of me, I've got to clean this room. I've been throwing away stuff left and right, but I've got to clean this room. And I still haven't got fully reorganized from my trip.
Yeah, and by the way, Don, thank you for the cot you gave me. I have been sleeping on that, and I have been getting good sleep.
It's no problem, bud. No problem.
I lay down on that, and I just go.
I'm not sure where my camera is. Let me get Chewbacca out of the way here. So, I'm not even sure where.
You need to bring me a little bit.
All right, now can you see my Lyman 200 grainer?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Hold on
So
one second. Let me present you to everybody.
that is my 200 grain Lyman Bullet Works bullet. And I'm trying to figure out where my camera is. And that's the Johnson & Dow heeled conical bullet that I ran through the lube sizer. You can see where I blunted the nose on that because mine lubes sizes from the top down rather than the bottom up. So the bullet is not going to matter because the Schofield is really, really shorter than a 45 long Colt, if I can present these now. So, I mean, probably 3/16 of an inch.
Okay, yeah, that will be able. I should be able to make I should be able to make some Schofields out of them.
Now, what I used to do in the past is because when I first got started, Jay at Kirst, who is now he used to be the contract gunsmith for Walt Kirst at Kirst Conversion. He machined back my cylinder so he didn't mess with my forcing cone so I could still use the percussion cylinder where I really just wanted to have a cartridge gun and I never really wanted to mess with percussion in that Birdie Parts U.S. Firearms Colt. But he did. So I would basically take my case trimmer and I would case trim off a 1/16 of an inch. And that would make it short enough for the end of these flat nose bullets, the Bullet Works, regular Lyman lead round nose flat points, that would reduce the overall case length a 1/16 of an inch so they didn't stick out the end of the cylinder. And I did that for a while. Then basically I shoot my brass till it starts to crack. And I mean, if you use a hand loader, you can get 100 reloads out of a case. And I probably get about 50 or 60 shots before they start splitting and cracking and doing weird stuff. Well, and, eventually I just started having a case trim. So I always had different lengths. So I'd have to take my lead die and I'm constantly adjusting it for different batches of brass. And that's why I just went out and bought the Schofield. So I didn't have to worry about it anymore.
Well, I had one roll, like right at the right where the crimp groove, like crimp groove would be going on one side of it, and I was told that was because of a weak spot in the brass.
44 Colt is thin. It is. If you go to a 454 Casull case, it's thicker, but then you're going to have smaller case volume and it's going to increase pressure. And if you're running max load, you're going to overpressurize it, turn it into a Ruger contender and explode the attack. You have bad days. You're basically setting off a hand grenade in your hand.
Yeah.
So
by Warsaw,
Yep. Take care, guys. I gotta get to sleep.
All right.
Hey, Warsaw.
Night, man.
We're not doing this tonight, YouTube. Come on now. Did this my Wednesday live stream. I don't know what's going on with it.
What's that?
We're able. It takes away my live because I have the Hangouts right, and then overlaid on YouTube, so I can watch the chat and everything on this one single stream. Yeah. But what was I saying? Well, I was just wondering if I could do that because I've got a few that's done that, and I think I've got a cylinder, about a cylinder full of them. I figured, make those, make them to 45 Schofield, use the brass for a little bit longer. Then that way, I could see if there is a noticeable difference of shooting 45 Schofield out of a 45 cartridge converted Remington New Model Army. I could, if not, I could always just neck it down to where it'd be a really, I can always just throw it, smash the brass, put it into a bucket of other brass items I've got, and take it to a scrapyard.
Well,
You know,
like I said, I used to just take it down a 16th at a time. I wound up with 10 different length cases, and with at least set of lead dies, it's not so bad because you screw them down, screw them up. But it gets to be such a pain in the butt. You know, you save your pennies, get a coffee jar, get $30, call Cabela's, order you 100 pieces of brass, and just, you know, if you, I don't know, y'all got gun shows or anything like that where you can go pick up used brass from here and there. And I just collect the stuff, and I'm like really anal about hanging on to it. So, you know, for me, it's I don't case trim anymore. When it starts to crack, then I just retire it.
I can
If you feel it, you could get a little bit more out of it.
Yeah,
Well-
that's the best thing to do. Is do you know how to do that?
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
how to do that. But,
And
because
with
I used to
Black
reload
powder, you
for,
want to deal every time.
I used to have to do that for when I was reloading with my grandpa for 30-06. We would, I think, like every fifth reloading, we would anneal them, and you know, make sure they were all overall and everything. You know, just the standard stuff you do with bottleneck cases. So that's why I'm saying if I ever got another bottleneck case, it would be a 30-30 or a 30-06. Something I've already, or maybe a 270, something I've already loaded. I know a load that I have written documents of load data that I can start off on anyway. Because his rifles were made in the 70s, and I would have to get a modern rifle. You know,
Well,
twist rate differences, metallurgy, the way it's bedded, wood stocks compared to polymer, different makers. You know, if that person showed up with a hangover that day, or you know what, you know. I think, and that's kind of what my grandpa got into reloading because he got tired of inconsistent ammo. But
well, I usually get one load that I like and I stick with it. I don't know if you can see this, but I make a lot of notes, and people tell me stuff that they've been using for years, and you can see some of the red ink pen. And I'll add note. This book is from like 1968, and I mean it tells you how to load round ball into 45 Colt, round ball into 45 ACP. It tells you a lot of good old school stuff. And then I get people that, you know, sent stuff off and had pressure tested loads and pressure barrels, and I got a few modern update stuff. And
yeah, I've got some in this box here. Yeah, I got some 45 Colt round balls I'm gonna be trying out. Jim Thurma, or how you say his last name? Can't. He showed me, and I'm gonna try some. I'm actually using those round balls that you gave me.
they will be great for that.
Oh, and by the way, I can use these in my Remington, no problem. I used them in the video earlier. I made earlier today. Someone asked me. The way he said it is, I was at the range. I was explaining something to somebody about a cap and ball revolver and why I'm shooting them and all that stuff, and he deballed. He dryballed, and he didn't know any. It didn't know. He's only ever heard of. You just take the nipple out, put powder behind it, you close it up, and you hope you don't blow your gun up. I'm like, I take a nail and just hammer it, you know, and just tap it out with the, you know, tap, wiggle and nail free, tap, wiggle and nail free, tap, wiggle and nail free, tap, wiggle and nail free. You know, just that way it didn't get stuck in the, you know, it doesn't get stuck in the round ball or the conical, and then you've got to mess with the thread. It's not public. It should be public. Both those videos should be, that I have up now should be public. One will be public after this live stream. One will be public tomorrow. Hey, Trapper Paul. Here's your ball bag that you asked to be made. It's done. Just has to be paid for. Just wanted to leave that out of the box until that's all I'm waiting on. Now as soon as I get some higher quality leather, I'll be. Yeah, and I think Duke's even got your holster ready. With the fringes. The fancy cowboys.
The fringe on the toe plug looks like one of those titty tassels.
Coffee stays out of the nose. Now I'm gonna be getting me. I found out that I got a Tandy leather. I think it's where you get your a lot of your leather from, isn't it, Duke?
Yeah, I get the cheap Argentinian leather from Tandy.
Yeah, they've got some here. I just gotta go pick some up. They put some back. They put a whole shoulder, like shoulder to shoulder on back for me. I called them. I just gotta go pick it up. That's all I gotta do is go pick it up, and then I'll be making the actual. I saw Don have one. I'm gonna be making a double cylinder. Oh, that double cylinder thing you showed off in my video. Yeah, I'm gonna be making one of those out of that leather.
Hey, Jeremy, you want to highlight me for a second? Trapper Paul wanted to see his holster again.
Okay, 1 second. Okay, everyone.
I think we want to see the titty tassel thing. Yeah, that's it. Now, I was going to charge you a little bit more, Trapper, but this toe plug turned out really ugly. I'm not going to show it on here because it didn't come out right. But you don't see it because the fringe covers it, so it's nothing major. But yeah, I'm kind of sad I'm selling this one. I almost wanted to keep this for myself, but I got plenty of leather. I can make me another one if I choose to do it that way.
That's the
It
problem.
took me longer to cut the fringe than
Get rid of it.
holster.
This
All right.
case you were talking about,
Yeah.
these were actually made to hold the cylinder up and get it out, but then it broke off. So I just wrap it around like this, and it makes it a lot nicer. But
Yeah.
Doug Kidd from Border States Leatherworks out of Springdale, Arkansas, he shouldn't be too far from you. He reproduces all the cavalry equipment, and I had a pair of actually dragoon cantle holsters that went over the cantle on my McClellan. That's the one sitting back here in the corner. Get the camera over there for me. We're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. And you'll see.
Yeah. Kind of.
Yeah, a little bit over there. So right over the cantle, I put those dragoon holsters, and then I would slide this up on the holster, and then the dragoon holster would lock over the breast collar, so that locked it in. So that basically gave me the equivalent of 2 Remingtons with 2 extra cylinders. Then I had a Remington and a double action Star Patterson or whatever. God has been, I've slept about a couple of decades. The one Clint Eastwood had behind his back in The Unforgiven. The same one, the double action. I don't think he ever loaded it or fired it. But and when I sold off one of my pistols, I got rid of my other case like this.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna be making those to kind of,
Yeah. And this is your Sharps carbine box if you ever get ready to make this. It's got the
I was gonna make me one. I was gonna ask you for the dimensions when I got the leather, so I can make me one.
Now you don't have to put these. This was like a French thing, and they phased it out but they just kept building them to specs for, that's what the Army military does. But the big cartridge box shoulder strap that held the infantry box would basically go down through this piece of leather here, and then it would buckle down here. So you'd have this little nifty thing, and then what a lot of troopers did is they put this on those big carbine cartridge slings. They put it and they carry it right here on the back, so they carry it right here on their back. So when they pick the saber or their carbine up, it would pull it around so they could get a cartridge and put it back. And
Yeah, I'm gonna make me kinda historically accurate. I'm gonna use a D-link instead of because I looked at one of those the actual clamps that they used.
Yeah.
Yeah, that just that part is expensive, so I was just gonna use a D-link and just clip it. I mean, it's going to be for my rifle, not my sale. Not for sale. It's just going to be a shoulder strap, the clip. It holds it there.
yeah. You could there was a series of books, and I can't find them anymore. They were soft cover because they were once hard cover, then they went soft cover. And the model stores used to sell them, and it was basically like all the different uniforms, the specifications, and they had all the gear listed out of what a cavalryman would be issued, and what went on the saddle and how it was made and everything. How to do the 6-fold on your blanket, because all they issued you for a horse blanket was a regular wool blanket. So you would fold it in half, and you would fold it in and fold it over. It's called a 6-fold. Put 6 pieces of wool between the horse and the saddle, and that's all they use for saddle blanket.
Yeah, and also when I get the leather, I'll start producing these cartridge box. This one's actually too short because they're supposed to hold 6. This one only holds 4. We start producing this. Dude's gonna be making the holsters for him. I'll be making all the accessories.
This
And
is
then also I saw this on Mike Bellevue's channel. It's a little early. What was it called? It was the some soldier's actual belt possibles bag. This is the prototype of that, and you can tell it's not well done. It's this cheap leather. It's that cheap felted one side leather. Believe it or not, this leather is actually pretty good for making like ball bags and stuff. That what you normally have to get goat skin for, and I'm able to actually make these ball bags out of this a lot cheaper than if I was having to make them out of goat skin, because the goat skin, what I'm saying, is about $30 a piece, and this I can go pay $20 for it, and then I spend my time actually forming it out, making it out and all that stuff, and it's able to keep the price where I can, it's able to keep the price. Well, it's $20 a yard, but at my Hobby Lobby, it's 2 yards a minimum, so $40. So, but out of that, I get to make a whole bunch. So,
what's the name of the guy on the trade blanket? Sometimes he's got those $10 or $20 half hides.
yeah,
Uncle something.
yeah. That's why I was asking about those, and I was trying to talk to him, but still, even then, spending that $10, that still raise up the ball bags. Well, it would bring them down to 15-ish bucks. It depends on how much shipping would be. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to go too far in the hole on these. But this was supposed to be like a belt possibles bag, kind of like the early form of those cartridge cartridge box that you have.
Yeah.
But it's got 2 things in here. It's got 2 spots. Yeah, that's a percussion cap.
But
Uh,
it's modified to hold 45 Colts.
yeah. I
Just
think
rip them out and fill them in.
if not mistaken, that's what a lot of people did when they left. They would just they switched from percussion to cartridge. They just took the. If
Because
not mistaken, did they even cut that little thin flap out sometimes?
Well,
well,
when you
wool out.
Okay.
this was the musket cap.
Hold on one second. Could you show that again, Duke? I didn't get to see it for very long.
This had a big wad of wool in it. Wool would keep the caps in place, and I ripped that out so I could put the cartridges in there.
Well, I was talking about that little leather flap that you had there. Then sometimes they cut those off so they could get more in there. You know, they would think they could get more in there.
You can't.
You can't cut it just.
It won't make any difference because this is just to help keep moisture out, basically.
There was actually two styles of this. The Civil War didn't have any kind of markings on it, and once they got into the Indian War, they started embossing the U.S. on it.
Yeah.
This one was brown. It's marked CS Arsenal, Richmond, something or whatever, but I dyed it black, and it's got the little thing. I don't know if you can see my paper clip in there. But yeah, the other one I've got is more like his. It's more squared off. There's a couple of different styles of these. Two things I got.
I was gonna say I got this one because I was gonna do an Indian Wars reenactment. I was gonna play a buffalo hunter, and they was playing really too early to be doing the cartridge belts for pistols. So I just thought, I'll do this and carry cartridges in that.
That's the one where they came up with the idea because you could put 11 cartridges in that case, and then you had 5 in the gun, so that was your combat load for a standard patrol.
Yeah.
Now this I got at a flea market or antique shop or whatever. This is like an old police case,
Oh wow. Yeah.
like $3, and you can do pretty good with it. The little paper, if I don't the other part, the little paper cartridge rolls. You can pretty much put 2 or 3 of them, sometimes 4, depending if you got balls or conical bullets in it. And then,
Yeah, Don. I'm gonna be making some, but supposedly the Civil War ones were supposed to hold 6 of them, and that's why I made these little jewelry boxes the same dimensions of those. The ones you have, I could easily get 6 in here easy, but the ones that the wooden ones.
I think this is what Mark. I think Mark had this in his video, and the way he did it, I think you put one in like this, and then one vertically. You could put 3 in it.
Yeah.
Well, this one's like I said, it's got 4 in it right now. But I want to make it to where it holds 6 like it's supposed to, so that way it's take a little bit more room, but it's. And this is my first attempt at making a percussion cap holder. It works. They don't fall out. All I've got is I had some leftover window trim, right? So I'll put that there, soldered. Use the glue to start the stick. Put it there. Then I soldered up in there. Put some cardboard glued some cardboard in between the leather. Folded the flap over on itself. Soldered here and then here, and the flap.
Yeah.
It works. Like it's got, I think, like 50 caps. It's like almost got a whole thing of 10 of caps in here.
This is like an old pocket watch case or something. I mean, it's old as dirt. I've had it for years, but the snail capper fits down in here perfectly.
Yeah, I gotta get me something. That's why I kind of made this right here, so I could use the paper cartridges, and I could hold my snail cap, my snail capper. I added I did some cleaning patches because I'm gonna keep a cleaning deck. This one's gonna be my personal because it holds my 2 boxes of paper cartridges for my 50 caliber in there. You know, I can put these paper patches, cleaning patches in there underneath this little leather. You know, it holds them there. I can get them back underneath there. Vanessa, we're gonna get to the chat here in just a second.
Well, she wants to know what kind of leather you want to use for the bags.
For a bag like this, I would want to either use goat skin, deer skin, or thin cowhide, the cow leather, just because it would be more durable and the loops that's supposed to be on it would be strong enough that you could put, and I would make it to where it would hold, if you wanted to hold loose paper cartridges, you know, like loose paper cartridges, you could do that, or however you wanted to do it, you know, I'd customize it. But only thing I don't have on here yet, because I got is a loop to hold my ball starter. It's the only thing I don't have. But I can keep my cleaning. I can keep my snail casher, my a capper in here. I can keep some extra, another tin of caps, a cleaning jig, 2 boxes of ammo for my 50 cal or my sharps, either one, and a tool in here to take the nipple out if I needed to. And it slips on my belt, and it actually holds. It holds all that weight. I've walked around with it for about 3 hours with all that in there, jumped up and down and all that stuff. Only thing is, I'm gonna probably put some of this thicker cord through a hole here, and then make a hole to where I can put like a nodule in there, kind of like how I did 6 shooters. Kind of just put something in there just to hold the flat down, because the flat would kind of flop up and down. But on this one, I'm not sure what kind of leather. It just kind of depends on what you would want to use it for. If you wanted to use, but I'm gonna make. I'm really loving working with the leather. I blame this holster right here. This is what got me into leatherworking. Vanessa Kitty asked, what leather did they use for, now y'all two correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm not mistaken, the percussion cap was from cowhide, along with the cartridge box and all that stuff. It was from cows or horses, one of the two.
Well, horsehide is used for stuff that's got to last longer. Horsehide is tougher.
Hey, say that again. My chair sucks.
The horse is used for stuff that's got to be tougher, because horsehide is a lot tougher than cowhide. But just any veg tan cowhide would be good for making your leather stuff.
Well, I was thinking maybe do the body of a lot of my stuff, like that, even that belt possibles bag out of the cowhide, and then maybe using the goat hide as the top. You're making it a little where it'll kind of hang down over the sides, because I'm just not sure yet, but I might just make it all out of cow, because and if someone wants a possible bag, I might use deer hide, because mountain men, they use whatever leather they could get, and all the times it was either goat, deer. I think there was even one surviving that was made out of squirrels and rabbits.
If you're gonna make something mountain man style, you want to go with brain tan deer or elk.
Yeah.
Or buffalo.
Let's. Okay, apparently we've been ignoring the side chat for a while. Okay. I read to there. Trevor Paul said he likes the hats. Pat Putnam says, "Hey Paul, hold this. Hands over steering wheel." I don't want it. LOL. Which hats do we have on tonight? We have a Confederate and Union Forger hat, if I said that right.
Forage cap, yeah.
Forge cap.
Like an 1840 design, I think. This was actually I think it's the 1851 Ford hat. That said they would actually starch them, and as they went out in the field and the starch came out, then they would just start to fall, and eventually they quit starching them.
And then apparently all this stuff we're talking about now was all Don's fault.
Guilty.
But hey, I mean, hey, if someone learned something new tonight, hey, that's fine. I called it outlaws and question marks because you never know what's going to be talked about on this show.
Yeah.
That's why I love it. Pat Putnam says, "You carry around goat balls?" What? LOL. That sounds like a personal problem. Actually, Pat, I carry around elephant balls. Thank you very much. It's very hard to walk sometimes. Vanessa Key says, "What type of hide do you need, Jeremy? I have a tandy leather down the road a bit. I have one that's about 2 hours, not even 2 hours away from me." To get started, I'm just getting a shoulder to shoulder because I'm just going to make me a Remington holster. Well, 2 more Remington holsters. Sell off this one. Maybe sell off that one. I don't know. I might just keep it as my first one, just so I don't have that front end of my Remington sticking out. Because it's for 7.5-inch barrels, and my Remingtons are 8-inch barrels. And it's got that tall front sight, so it sometimes snags when I'm trying to draw. And I don't like that. And not reading that one aloud. Vanessa says, "I barbecue chicken leg quarters. They came out nice." Becca says, "Yummy." That must be very tired because he's in the perverted mood. Spice. Okay, anyway. Vanessa, I'm hoping your migraine goes away.
Yeah, migraines suck.
Wow. Pat just went there. Honestly, for the ball bags, I actually do like this kind of it because I've been able to put a whole bunch of conical 54 calibers in there, and then just kind of loop it through a belt, and it just sit there, just let it just hang there where it would be on that leather and that cord, and it not tear. And if it tears and stuff, it's because I think even the goat hides, most people don't. When I'm saying I saw one earlier made out of the goat hide is like what, $25. Starting out for a small one and then going up from there. Thinking the trade group that you run, Don, not mistaken.
Yeah, all things cowboy trade blanket.
Yeah, I've seen some for 25. I've seen some for 30. I've seen some for 50. And
I always went to rock shops and got little rock bags. That's actually what I'm using right now. You pick them up $3 or $4. Now they used to be really nice leather, and I think these days they make them out of suede and all kind of crappy stuff. But
yeah, I've on these, if it breaks, the price I don't know if they're going to stick to the price. I think I'm going to lower them down a little bit. But for like pellet holders or something like that, like I made a 6-shooter Texan, this is perfect stuff. It's not it doesn't those pellets don't need a lot of load bearing weight. You know, it's well depends on your size. If you got a 50 caliber air rifle and you want a belt bag, you double and I can also double it up, you know, as well, and it not be super unworkable too if I needed to. So I kind of like for like for the cheap ball bags. Let's face it, this is right now what I'm selling is on the cheap end, guys. It's not because I'm not having to pay 35, 40 bucks, even 50 bucks for goat leather, or not 15 bucks for a thing of goat hide.
You know, there's also the old-fashioned magic fabric, painter's drop cloth at Home Depot, and then you go to Walmart and get the leather shoelaces.
Yeah, I was gonna make some. I was gonna get some pillow ticking.
You can
That.
they just about everything. This used to be. These were actually for like potatoes and onions and food bags, and then this one, I remember I put in I was carrying 58 caliber round balls, and it's been in the leather. You can tell how old this is.
Yeah.
But you can make some amazing stuff out of this, and it's period correct to a great assortment. And if you're not doing a specific impression or something, then there's really nothing wrong with it. I mean, if they've got up, they're not going to throw the canvas away. They're going to make do with what they got.
Yeah, and also, I mean, this is for like a range box. It's a fancy item for a range box. That is pretty. That is some pretty stamped leather. Stamp, but I didn't do that. I'm not going to take credit for that stamp. I ain't that good. It's pretty. I mean, and I've used 4 stitching, so it shouldn't break. And like I said, I've even tested this one. It holds it, and it closes up. You put it in a range box, and you can stick in a possibles bag, whatever. Like I said, this is the cheap option. And then I'm gonna make some better grades where I'm actually put some stamping, deer heads, so maybe a bear on that and stuff like. This is just. I'm liking this leather because I'm able to start out. I'm able to make mistakes. And if I make mistakes, it's not going to cost me. Using this leather, I can basically make all the mistakes I want with this kind of leather, and it not cost me an arm and a leg.
Well, the thing is, that's perfectly authentic, because if somebody had an old vest or clothing or jackets or overcoats or whatever, they would cut it up and use whatever they had because it was already soft leather, very pliable.
Well, I don't know if the little felt stuff on there it would be though.
Yeah, but you don't see that. And if you're not going for, it depends on what level of authenticity you're going for. If you're going for the 25-yard rule, for spectator crowds, and it really doesn't matter. Now, for your own personal preference, if you want to say, okay, I want to be a 1792 frontiersman, then you've got to hold yourself to higher standards.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Right now, for these, that's why I'm not claiming these as authentic, because you might be able to use them as starter gear for some reenactments. I don't know,
Like I said, it's mainly going to be for your personal preference of how authentic you want to be.
Yeah, and then if someone wants it like super authentic, then that's when I go get the right stampings, get everything. But that's also going to be a little bit more expensive of a piece. Like if someone went to Duke and they say, "Hey, I want this period correct, 100% correct," I have a feeling that's going to be a little bit more of a whole,
Well, it's a difference between O'Reilly's and AutoZone and going to the Chevy dealership and getting AC Delco OEM parts. You're going to pay $30 at O'Reilly's. You're going to pay $130 at the dealership. It's what you want to get. So it's
Yeah, that's what I mean, it's good. I do good work. I mean, I'm not saying it, it's cheaply done either. I mean, but like I was saying, if someone wanted, like your new prototype that you had out, right, Duke, for the Walker,
What's that?
someone like a actual Calvary, Texas stamping and all that stuff on, like, be 100% period correct. Can, wouldn't that be just a little bit more with the stampings and all that? Wouldn't that be just a little bit more than maybe just a plain holster, Walker holster that you've got made out?
Yeah, but the thing is, I'd have to find them stamps, them embossing stamps. That's why I don't do any Civil War reproduction stuff, because I'd have to, for me to buy the U.S. or the CS embossing stamp. I think those stamps are like $120 a piece or something like that.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. It would be a little bit, that project alone would be more than them just getting the holster, and that's what I'm saying. Right now, all this stuff is, well, except for this stuff right here. All this stuff is not on the market because I haven't went to Tandy Leather yet. All this stuff right here is not there yet. It's not listed. It's shown, but it's not listed. I'm just basically selling the ball bags right now, and that's just to kind of help pay for powder right now because I'm kind of getting low on that. But Vanessa asked what leather did they use traditionally. It did we already answer that one? Can't remember. From Vanessa, what kind of leather did they what leather did they use traditionally?
Veg tan. Anything veg tan would be appropriate.
Yeah, I don't think chrome tanned came around to what, the 1900s or something.
Yeah, it's pretty modern.
Yeah. Oh, okay. We'll do.
Oh, Jeremy, and I help put your point just for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, now I am not a professor of history or nothing like that, but I've sat around, I've talked to a lot of people. You can go, the regulation said, which is what the ordnance department specified that you're supposed to go. Now, this is the infantry cartridge box when I had a couple of months. There is no U.S. embossing. As far as I know, they never stamped anything CS. They also had nice stuff, but I don't think they ever actually stamped a Confederate a CS in anything. If anything, they would take this and they turn it upside down for the Southern nation because it kind of weights down the flat. But everything is kind of built, it's a pretty thick leather. But when you get up to the rest of the stuff, it's not so much. Now, when you say authentic, correct, this, that, whatever, if you're going to make one of these for a reenactment, he says, look, I just need a cartridge box. I want to go do reenactments. You're not going to have your documents little thing right here where they carried letters, their identification, whatever they would have for documents, they'd put inside this. If they had wanted to put cleaning paper, patches, whatever. But here's the point. Now, I'm not going to go into full Civil War, but you got the 10 inserts. You'd carry your ready load here. You'd carry your standby load at the bottom. If a guy just wants a basic box to carry cartridges in, a lot of guys pull these tins out. They don't actually use them on the field. Some do, some don't. Now, when I bought this case, I put it on at the reenactment. They usually use toothpicks, and we didn't have any toothpicks, so I stuck plastic forks in here, these little plastic fork pieces have been sticking in this thing for probably 35 years now. I never changed them. I never had to. So when you're talking about doing it a certain way, if you're regular federal, it was done to a very strict standard. If you're talking about state militia, I think it was 4th Illinois Cavalry sitting on a mule with bare feet, wearing spurs, wearing a sack coat, civilian pants, carrying a double-barrel shotgun with something that used to be a hat. But he wasn't regular federal. So everything is at a certain standard. So you have to pick your impression. And then when you pick your impression, you got to pick the level of authenticity that you want to get to. And if I'm regular federal, I'd probably get flogged for having a piece of brass that looked this nasty because you had to polish your brass. You know, I'd probably get 4 lashes or 5 lashes just for not polishing my gear. So, I mean, it's the impression you want to portray, and then you want the level of your impression that you want to, how far you want to go with it. And if you join a certain group might say, well, we're regular federal and you got to polish your brass so you don't take the field. Another, like a dismounted cavalry unit, they're like the bastards of reenacting because nobody wants to claim them. You don't have muskets, you should be on a horse. If you got muskets, you should be on the ground. But, you know, they're a lot more lenient because they're wearing cavalry gear, but they're really infantry. And they don't usually make you polish everything. So that's the basic rules you want to go by. Whether you're mountain man or whatever, you're going to set yourself, if you want to go to rendezvous, their rule is 1830 and below. So, or 1840 and below. So this is an 1851 kepi. I can't wear this rendezvous. My 1850 greatcoat, I can't wear it rendezvous. I mean, I could wear it at a Renaissance festival because they don't know what it is, but pick your time period, pick your impression, and then pick your level of authenticity for that time period. If you're getting started in a hobby, you don't have to be 100% right off the bat. Just get started and work to slowly and steadily improve your impression. And then all the extra stuff you got left over, you can pass it down to the new guys. You can sell it. You can do, you know, that's why you got trade blankets. You put it out there for sale or trade or whatever.
And Plowboy just commented, Don, he says he did find a Houston Depot cartridge box that was stamped CS on it, just for information.
Okay. As a general rule, they never really did it. But right. Who's to say what some little arsenal ever did? Like I said, my cap case is stamped it's not stamped CS. Okay, it does not have a big embossed CS, but it's stamped CS Arsenal, Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Okay.
So that was a depot ordinance stamp.
Right.
But it doesn't have the big CS. It just says in little letters, CS Arsenal, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Used to be brown. If I was basically captured it, picked it up off a dead reb, well, I'm a Yankee now. It got done up with lamp black and lamp oil, so it turned black.
Yeah, and a lot of this low grade stuff like this. This would be like good for like somebody that's just starting out, even just shooting black powder, to have in their range box. You know, but they're gonna take they can put the 36s, the 44s, or 50 calibers, whatever calibers. They can put a good amount of projectiles in here. And have them have a nice, you know, they're all nice, contained. They're not in a box taking up room for everything else. It's a pretty small package. takes up a lot less space than a Hornady box. And it didn't cost them a lot. And it, oh, but, and it's not really for the, I'm not really looking to get the reenactors. It's just people that like to shoot black powder. You can even throw 22, you can throw say you got one of those big boxes of 22 Thunderbolts. You can throw a whole bunch of those in here and put it in your hunt coat pocket. You've got a easy way to get in your pocket. You can fill up your tube, your magazine, whatever. Of 22, you can put 45 in here. And whatever you want, you can put really whatever you want here. You can put loose tobacco. I used one for a loose tobacco bag for my pipe smoking on a movie set one time for a little short YouTube movie part that I was in. From where you would see me, you wouldn't tell that it wasn't all you saw was a black leather bag that I pulled tobacco out of and stuffed into a pipe and put it back in my vest pocket. That's all you saw. So, cheap movie prop right here if you're getting into those YouTube movies, or you're not going to be seen a lot on the set. There's a lot of things this could be. Old cigars, cigarettes, that's what I'm trying to get across. That bag has a lot of uses. And I think that's what a lot of people would do is they would take, old clothes and they reused them. Because it's material. Material was expensive. Because if I'm not mistaken, most of the times, if a woman got a new dress, it was usually made out of potato sacks. Sacks and stuff. Because or even men's shirts that was hand sewn together, if I'm remembering correctly, because it was a thick fabric, and they bought the potatoes, they took them home, they got emptied out, they had the material to make a shirt.
Flour sacks were very popular. They're usually made out of cotton. But
yeah, that's it.
At that point, they would use anything they had. I forget what it is. They didn't look like this, but Altoid actually dates back, I think, to the 1850s. So in a great sense, this is a very accurate box. If you take a hammer and you beat it all flat and then just throw it on a barbecue grill and burn it and then oil it, it makes a very authentic little box because it doesn't have any modern markings or barcodes or anything like that on it. And if you make little bags, you can make bags that fit little tin boxes like this.
Pat Punham says he's had some bad experiences with reenactors lately. And the place I work at, there are some that are, because where I'm working now it's a little put together that started this year. They're working on they're going to make a Facebook page if it lasts 6 months. That's what they're planning on doing. Make it 6 months, make a Facebook page to get more people in for next year. But just do like a little town scene of Arkansas, right? There are some that are total snobs. Like, I had to play a part where one guy called in sick. I had to play a guy in a bar playing poker. I didn't have a period correct button-down shirt, right? But I tucked it in my pants, I made it kind of look as period correct as I could possibly be. They would walk in, say this is the person said this is an average bar scene. Back in the day, you'd have people playing poker, you would have some people at the bar drinking their breakfast or their lunches. You'd have, tell them basically what a bar scene was back then, during the day, and then explain that it got a little sometimes, and it got a little rowdy at night, and then they moved on. They were in there maybe 10, 20 minutes, unless someone had a whole bunch of stupid questions. And yes, I have heard some stupid questions. Did they really throw money into the spit tune for the town drunk and laugh at him as he dug it out so he could buy himself a drink? Or is that just a John Wayne movie?
Well, you got to ask yourself, did it ever happen once? On July 22nd, 1868, Bill Mack cut a joke on Krusty the Town Drunk and threw $1 in the spit tune and said, "Here, buy yourself a." If it happened once, it happened. Did it happen a lot? Maybe it did, maybe it didn't.
Well, the person we have doing the tours is a fantastic lady. She said it probably happened, but it's not a big historical event, so it was never wrote down. So if it happened, it happened. Life moved on. She's like, does people write down historical events when you make it hilarious mistake when you're drunk? And then kept on with it. And then they kept on with the tour. But because I was wearing a black button-down shirt. You don't, it was a wool shirt. And by the way, wearing a wool shirt in 100 degrees and black. No, bad. No, that is a very bad thing. Let's just say, so there are some reenactors who believe that you have to be 100% correct. And for anyone knowing, this is really my first reenacting gig, I guess you could say. Where I'm having to supply the clothing and all this stuff. Right? The last one I did was on that movie, and they supplied the uniform. I supplied my own gun. But that's just still the fact that I had a gun on my hip. It showed you could see it, but it wasn't really prevalent. I was sitting there, poker hand here, set the cards down, loaded my pipe, lit it, and then picked my cards back up. That was literally what I was supposed to be doing for my scene. Just basically playing a poker game while this crap happened in front of me.
You're more garnish and scenery than you are anything else.
Yeah, just. I mean, there was a lot of people there that were wearing modern day Ruger because they looked kind of the new not the Ruger, is it the Ruger Super Hawk or is it Black Hawk? The one that looks like the Colt Peacemaker but is not a Colt Peacemaker
with adjustable sights.
Yeah,
that's the Black Hawk.
Yeah, the only ones that were technically period correct were the ones that were going to be on camera a lot. I mean, but there are some that are snobs. And they believe that you have to be 100% period correct, even starting out. And there are some that are like, here, here's this piece, here's this little piece. This is where you can go get this piece if you need it. Or here's the pattern, so if you can get the leather, you can make it. But, it's...
There's two things I wore in camp just to piss people off, because I did reenact this for over 23 years. I did mounted cavalry. Now, when I went on the field, I looked the part, I played the part, I saluted at everything I needed to. But when I was in camp, and especially if it's not a campaign camp where you're actually allowed to have some things that's not open to the public, my two favorite things to wear were bright yellow elastic cavalry suspenders and a Punisher t-shirt. And I looked awesome in my blue pants and my saber belt. And I used to get so much hate off of that. I'm like, dude, we're not playing for the public. It's a relaxed camp. You know? If I go to the Soldier Saloon, I'll put a shirt on. But there's so many different styles. You know, but you can have metal, Bakelite, bone, or leather. And most people like, okay, now for some of you might say, you know, every time I see Don, he's wearing that same gray shirt. Does he not change clothes? I actually have like 5 of these shirts. I saw them, I picked them up, I work in them, I do whatever. So I got 5 of these shirts, but they got metal buttons on them. But if I was going to be period correct, I would only have like maybe 2 or 3 buttons, and then it would be a solid shirt all the way down. It doesn't fully unbutton. So you got to remember, it's like what we wear today. Is it technically was that in style clothing we had 15 years ago?
No.
We wear the same clothes that the Brady's did back in 1970. So styles change. It's like I think it was brought up in one of the movies that they're doing the Civil War movie, but they're all carrying it 92 Winchesters and 73 Peacemakers, and they're wearing 1880s clothes. So the styles are wrong for the time period. And if you know, it goes back to the period thing. If I'm going to go out and I'm going to do an impression that I'm in 1885, then what I'm wearing in 1885 was probably going to be good till around 1868, 69, 70, as the styles started to transition in the East and work their way out West. But it's not going to be period correct for 18, 30, 40, and 50. Just like if I have if I'm carrying an 1860 Army revolver and it's 1855, the newest thing I should have is a Walker, a Dragoon, or a Navy, because the Army didn't exist yet.
And a Walker would be very, very rare.
And a Walker would be very, very rare. Pretty much a revolver would probably be rare in a lot of cases because most poor people couldn't afford to just go out and buy the most expensive gun they could find. They'd be carrying single shots.
Now, if you're doing gold rush stuff, I mean, they were sending Colts out there pretty fast because, you know, they could bring a premium. They could sell a Colt that they bought for $25 in New York for $125 out in California.
Yeah. And
it was gold, and like gold dust, if I remember correctly. Sometimes it was paid in gold dust.
Well, you got to remember that it's the same. The only people that got rich in the gold rush were the vendors.
Mm-hmm.
You're better off running a store than you were actually doing the hard work.
Yeah, you made more money selling the shovels than using the shovel.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that in a movie, and I'm like, you know that. And they were talking about the gold rush, and I'm like, you know what? That does make more sense. Why sit there and dig for the gold when you could go get the supplies that the person that's already digging the gold is going to need? He's going to need bacon. He's going to need bullets. He's going to need beans. He's going to need a shovel. He's going to need a pick. He's going to need clothes. He's going to need boots. He's going to need liquor. But he's going to need a gun. You know, he's going to need.
I'm not 100% up on prices, but you take a 50-pound bag of flour might have cost $2 or $3, and you could feed a family for a month on that. Well, it costs $10 to ship it to the gold fields, and then they're going to sell it for $50 at a 300% markup. Well, here's your $50 bag of sugar. You just got into town. You're probably going to be hungry for a while. They say more gold dust went through the floors of the saloon than any place else. Because you're right, they were paying with gold dust. They probably spilled half as much as what they actually got out of the bag.
And probably that barkeep was a very good sweeper.
One thing that gets me is that everybody says, you know, when you're portraying the West, you should give a few years when on the models of guns just because it's 51 Navy, we might give it 4 or 5 years. There's a record of a guy that was traveling on the Santa Fe Trail in 1839, and he was carrying, he talks about carrying a couple of Colts Patton pistols and Patton rifle, which was all Patterson-made guns. And the way he describes the models is they had to be the 1839 models, which come out in 39. He's using them in 39. Now he's 1,000 miles from St. Louis talking about using these things, and St. Louis is at least that, if not twice that far from New Jersey where they're being made. So it actually didn't take guns very long to get across the United States, even back in the day. Just had to be a supply and a demand for them.
Well, if I'm remembering correctly, it would only take about a month or two by boat from New Jersey up the Mississippi to St. Louis. Then it'd be travel to it wouldn't take that long by a boat, a wagon, if it need where we're actually going.
Send it by wagon to Ohio and down the Ohio River.
Yeah, so month boat travel.
It'd take, the way they moved freight back in the day, it could take at least a good 2 months.
Yeah,
and then to get across the Santa Fe Trail, that's 3 months. Well, 3-4 months at least.
Yeah, it would have came out as an advertisement, or he heard about it. He wrote a letter to Colt with some money in it.
They would advertise like everything else. You find newspaper articles coming out, the new Colts Patton pistol available, and
that's picked up by the next
pre-orders and everything else. So yeah.
Yeah, it goes boom, boom. Information wasn't as fast as it was. It was this newspaper editor from 3 counties over heard it from this one over here, and then they run an article about it, and it was just kind of passed on, and it might have took a few weeks from New Jersey to Arkansas.
Well, you figure the Battle of New Orleans took place 2 weeks after the war ended, because it took 2 weeks to get the word from Washington to New Orleans.
That was in 1860. By then they had trains.
That was the War of 1812. So that would have been what, 1813?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
1812 and 1814. Johnny Horton in 1814. We took a little trip.
Yeah.
Yep.
It took 2 weeks to get the word from Washington to New Orleans that the war was over.
Vanessa Kitty asked a good question. I actually don't know the answer to this one. Maybe one of y'all two do. Y'all are more knowledgeable than this. I've never claimed to be an expert, but if I have an idea or something, kind of like what I put out today, I post it. She asked, what sidearms were being made here at the Springfield Armory during the war? I have a feeling she's talking about the Civil War.
I don't think they would have been making sidearms at that point, because Colt and Remington and Starr and Savage and everybody else had contracts with the government.
Yeah.
They would have been on
turning up Springfield muskets.
Yeah, probably more muskets. Maybe not the sidearms.
Yeah, because I don't think Springfield ever really made a sidearm, did they?
I think there's some Colt 1911 stamped.
Well, see, now we're talking, but I'm talking like in the 1830s, 40s, and 50s. I think they were primarily a rifle company, weren't they?
Yeah. And then, Harper's Ferry had pistols. And then you had the freaking, what the heck is that? The Anston pistol. Anson. God dang, what the hell is that one? The 42.
Yeah.
And Johnson. I don't know. There weren't a whole lot of sidearms made by the big armories. I know that.
What's the Facebook page? Horsetheld. He's always got all the great unique and hard to find guns on there. He's a collector.
Vanessa, we're not, oh, sorry,
Yeah.
Don, I made a job. We're talking about the actual Springfield Armory, not the one that's out now. But I think the only ones that they ever did, for as my knowledge is, the only ones that they made was the Colt revolvers for the U.S. military. What is it? The Colt. It was their double action one. I just watched a video on this. It's they use it for World War One. For
Yeah.
The
I
new
think he.
19, or not 1918.
I
I can't think of it.
I think he was used on in Cuba. The 38 was used. I believe the 38 was used in Cuba. I can't remember what it's called.
I think those were the Smith and Wesson 1895s or whatever.
I'm not.
They got Smith and Wesson and Colt, and they're basically the same freaking gun. Just one rotates different than the other one, and one the cylinder release goes forward and one goes backward.
Yeah. Well, one's
It
got a
was
triple
a
wide.
special revolver used in the
Sure.
direction.
I'm not real. Like I said, I'm not a big expert. Like I said, but I'm thinking the only ones they made were. I don't think they started making pistols until before the Colombian War. Colt New Army 1892. Pat Putnam says that I'm thinking of.
Yeah, that's what I just Googled it. The Philippine insurrection was the 30-40 Craig carbines and the 1892 Colt New Model Army, Chamberlain 38 Long Colt.
Yeah.
Yep. That was adapted 38 special.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I have a question. What is the difference between, I've heard a lot of different things about it, and what's the difference between 38 long Colt and 38 special? What?
A little bit of case diameter. Two are not interchangeable.
Okay, say that again.
Something to do with the cases are different size because the two are not interchangeable. You can't shoot the 38 long Colts out of a 38 special. I don't remember what it is, but they don't work.
The bullet, well, like a 38 Smith and Wesson would be like a 9mm case with a rim on it, and that shot a 3, 5, 7, 8, or 9 diameter bullet. It was a bigger diameter bullet. So if you shoot the 38 special, the 3.55 bullet in the Smith and Wesson case, 38 Smith and Wesson, then the bullet diameter is not going to fit the groove. So there was a bullet diameter, case length, possibly diameter. It basically was a transition period. They had one basic design, and it was basically evolving. I mean, today it's all pretty much everything we shoot's about the same thing. You have different designs, but basically a 38 special and a 9mm are both 3.55 diameter.
Right.
Whereas a 38 Smith and Wesson would be like a 3.57, 3.58, maybe a 3.59, somewhere's in that range.
Okay, Plowboy says that his Cimarron is marked 38 Colt / Smith & Wesson Special. Maybe because it is. Maybe because it's more modern. Maybe because and the difference. Maybe I was talking about when it first came out, and I think that's what Don explained. Because now they both 38 3.55. 9mm is 3.55. Well, like I'm not mistaken, a 36 is more closer to a 38, an actual 38, than it is a 36. It's
a 36 is a 3.75. A 338 is the 3.57.
Yeah, so. Yeah.
But Putnam says a 38 Colt uses a 3.380 ball, and 38 Special uses 3.57. And Plowboy just says one's shorter than the other. So
yeah, so.
Yeah, Yeah, 38 Smith & Wesson is a 357 diameter, like a 110 grain bullet up to 158 grain. But yeah, 357 diameter lead bullet. For the 38 specials are usually going to be like a 355, 356.
Yeah. Well, Pablo, I was talking about historically.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, today all modern stuff, 45, no matter what you get, until you get into 454 Casul, which is technically a 45. Hey JH, how are you?
Well, gents, I'm going to have to sign off tonight. I got to get my dogs and get ready for bed. I got to get up somewhat early for work tomorrow. So we'll see you.
All right. Well, JH,
Have a good night.
Duke. I was going to ask JH before he left if he wanted to come on here and talk to everybody. Maybe he had, because he deals with a lot of odd cartridges. Maybe he could help us make it easier for everyone to make it better for everybody to understand, easier for everybody to understand. Because let's face it, I botch it up. But if I'm not mistaken, every 45 from 45 Schofield to almost except for 45 Casul, 454 Casul, which is still a 45. Nowadays is all standardized at what, 452, 453. While back in the day it was 454. If I'm
You really got to go back and just look at the cartridge specifically. Now, I've got an original pre-1920 M1917 Smith, and then I had bought the retro version. The original loves a 452 lead bullet, but I would shoot that same bullet out of the retro reproduction one that used barrels from the 1950s, and it hated them. It would sling them. It would stack full metal jacket 451 bullets, shot a 25-cent quarter shot group. But it would sling the lead bullets all over the place because the pre-1920s, my understanding is they actually were chambered in 452 to match the 45 Colts, because that's basically what everybody was producing those bullets. They evolved into the 451s, probably with the advent of the 1911s. But, you know, and you can't just sum it up. Look at all the cartridges we got now, like 6.8 SBC, 30 Hornady, 30 Blackout. They all use a 7.62 millimeter bullet, but they all use a 223 case, but they all got their little particulars here, their particulars there. And there's so many different cartridge designs that, yeah, you can chamber form it, you can fire form it, you can, but each one's going to have its own specific, and that's basically what it was back then.
yeah.
The British, the 455 Eli shot like a 458 diameter bullet. Well, then they machined the cylinders down. You put the moon clips. You can shoot 45 ACP, but the bullet diameter of a 45 ACP is not big enough to fully fit the grooves in the old Webley 455s. But they would work. You could shoot them. But it wasn't perfect. So you can make stuff work, but it wasn't designed to work.
Yeah.
303 is a 311. The 303 British Enfields war production came out between 308 and 314 diameter. So some shot really, really well. Some shot really, really horrible. The Mosin Nagants, it's a 7.62 by 54 bullet, but those are like 311, 312, 14, whatever. I forget you'd have to look it up. You can get it online with loading data, but each one was designed for a specific diameter bullet and a specific load. So they had their own proprietary specifications. Doesn't mean I can't take a 30-06 and make it work by reloading that into a 54 Russian brass case, and it's just not going to shoot right because I'm going to leak gas through the grooves in the barrel, or the bullet's not going to be the right diameter.
Yeah.
You got to explain some of it, so you can't just generalize and sum it up. Each cartridge was designed for us to have certain specific specifications to work in a specific design, and made like the 30 Nagants. I heard of people shooting 32 long Colts out. There's like 4 or 5, 6 different cartridges that you can shoot out of a 30 Nagant. They came with the 32 ACP conversion cylinder, so you can shoot 32 ACP out of it. But that's not the right cartridge. So it would shoot, but it may not shoot well.
If I'm not mistaken, they did that so they could get training. They could shoot the training rounds. They could do more because 32 ACP was
for a certain type of bullet. Because remember, the 30 Nagants, the lip of the case is going to protrude through the cylinder, so when it moves forward, it locks in to the forcing cone, so there's no gas escaping between the cylinder and the barrel. But if you shoot the 32 long Colt or the other calibers that would actually work on the gun, they're not going to operate within that parameter. So you're going to have gas leaking because the case is not long enough, the bullet's not the right diameter, but it's going to come out the barrel. Maybe not accurately, but it's going to come out the barrel, and it's not going to blow the gun up.
And I think a lot of like bolt actions had a little insert where you could. It looked like a normal bolt, but it had a different, smaller cartridges.
Well, they probably chamber adapters. You can get the 223 chamber adapter to shoot 22 long rifle out of it.
Yeah, and I think they did. I was talking about like smaller militaries would get like they'd have like this. They would get X amount of rifles that was in standard chambers, and then they get one in a pistol caliber, and that would be get the. I've heard about it doing it with. It was like it's a small country that's not around no more. It was like in during World War II. I heard it on. You would get it in their standard military caliber, then they either get a chamber insert to shoot a pistol caliber, centerfire pistol caliber, or they'd have it chambered in a pistol caliber so they could train. So that would be that company's or that troop's training caliber rifle or rifles, whatever, so they could train. But because
what you're talking about, I did see 2 of them, and I wanted to buy them, but I didn't have the money. But it was a 8 Mauser, German Mauser, and it was basically chambered in 45 ACP, and it used 1911 magazines. And it was a training rifle. I've only seen 2, and I've never seen them since.
There weren't, from my understanding, and from what I have found, they weren't a lot of them made.
No, they were very, very limited numbers.
And they were just meant for that, just to train. So if it broke, they either.
Well, it was cost effective ammunition, and then you did just different reasons. But they made a lot of 22 training rifles. Romania's made a lot of the 22 caliber Mauser trainers, so you can pick those things up all over the place at one time. We had some 22 training rifles in the U.S. military. So it goes back to what they did 150 years ago, they did. And whatever caliber they produced back then, it had to meet certain specifications for that rifle. So you can't just generally summarize it. Well, what did they use? Well, they used a bunch of stuff. They probably used stuff we don't know because they had local purchases. Yeah.
And JH says the 45 Colts, long Colts that he's heard of shooting bullets are in the 4.54, 4.57 area. Mine, because it's a cartridge conversion, lights 4.53. And most of my bullets come out when they airdropped, come out to 4.53. So I can just drop them out. I just have to lube them, and that's it. But some guns, but if I'm not mistaken, 4.57 doesn't that get into 45-70?
The Ruger Old Army's a 4.57, and I think some of the Colt Walkers might be 4.57.
Yeah. there are cartridge conversion cylinders for those. Yeah, I know what mine is. Mine is 4.53, and they shoot pretty accurately. They're at 35 yards. They're putting them in a head size grouping. That's for sure. And that's all. I mean, so I guarantee you, it'll hit somebody in the body at that if I had to, or a running hog, or a hog in general if I see one out there. Yeah, but no, we're talking as far as Plowboy said 4.57 is the low end range of 45.70 also. Yeah, I think that's for some of the newer like Marlins, I think as well.
Well, you're going to get usually a 4.57 jacketed bullet. Some of the lead come out at 4.58. Some of the molds might throw a 4.59. Some, and it could be 4.58.5. But you stick to basic, like I said, you go by the loading data and you stick to the prescribed diameter bullets, and you can make anything work. How you paper patch bullet. I've paper patched 250 grain 45 Colts to increase the bore diameter to 4.57, 4.58 to shoot it out of my 45-70 brass in my trapdoor.
Plowboy says his 1895 needs a 4.59 plus. It's a 2016 Marlin. Yeah, I was thinking it was a Marlin that usually needed either a bigger bullet or a small. I can remember if it needed a bigger bullet or a smaller bullet. Right, that just I gotta trim my beard. It's sitting there tickling me and make my all right in here feel weird. But yeah, it's very hard to generalize bullets. Bigger Plowboy says bigger than the newer ones. Okay.
Well, if you overcomplicate the whole thing, technically you get a slug and you drive it through the barrel with a wooden dowel rod or however you're going to do it. You slug the barrel and you mic it. Now you know how deep your grooves are. You know how your lands are, and then you load specifically for that barrel. But that's really kind of overcomplicating it. If you buy the factory load and they use the factory specified ammunition, it should work well. Now, rifles are not equal. Some are better than others, but in modern CNC machining, and you buy quality stuff, you shouldn't have to worry about it too much. I put more faith in a Browning made in Japan by Maruku than I would a Chiappa. I mean, that's my personal. I'm going to make that statement. It's my personal preference, but it's like comparing Beretta to Taurus. A lot of people don't like Beretta, but you put 300 Berettas out on the table and you might get one bad gun because they've got really good quality control. You put 100 Tauruses out there, well, 3 of them may not feed, 2 of them may not eject, and 1 or 2 of them may group like a shotgun. You don't know what you're going to have until you get it home. And you take like the Bursa 380s. If you get one that runs, it runs really, really well. If you get one that doesn't run, you can't make it run. The old 22 Bursas were really bad about that. If it worked, it worked great. If it didn't work, it didn't matter what. And they even said this on the Outdoor Channel. If it didn't work, you're not going to make that gun work. It's just the way they machine the tolerances.
And here's the thing. I had a 45 410 Taurus Judge, the little revolver.
Yeah.
Ran flawlessly. It loved 410 slugs and 45 Colt. Ran them just fine. Both of them just fine. Only time it got any kind of weirdness in it is if I tried to shoot any kind of shot out of it. but the slugs it liked, like 45 Colt. That's literally, and everyone says, "Oh, that's a crappy gun. That's a crappy gun." But I go down the range and I'd be shooting. I mean, 20 yards, be shooting a quarter size grouping with slugs out of it. A little smaller than that with the 45 Colt. I mean, what more could you ask out of a little handgun? I mean, especially at that distance. I mean, especially when only, I mean, the long barrel, the version was like this long. So compared to a Remington's, I mean, that barrel was only here. And I mean, just look at all the extra length on my Remington. It's got.
Well, there's so many things on a revolver because you've got the forcing cone, you've got the cylinders, you've got cylinder alignment, you have the crown on the end of the barrel. There's so many things. I mean, if you bought the gun used and the guy used a steel cleaning rod and he goes in the end of the barrel and he does this all day long and flattens the grooves out, well, now you've got a blunderbuss. So that bullet can go all over the place. You'd have to drill into the bore or cut that barrel off and recrown it.
But like I was saying,
there's so many things that can make a gun good or bad, and that's what I'm saying. A lot of the stuff when you talk about new guns, if you go with brand names, your quality control at those factories is a lot higher than the quality control at some of the other ones. And it depends on how fast they crank it out. Remember what I said about the 303 Enfields? War production rifles were not scrutinized like peacetime production because they're trying to turn them out. So instead of having a range from 308 to 311, you've got from 308 to 314. If you've got that extra 300ths of an inch in the bore because they bored it out so quick and everything, well, you're going to be leaking gas around the bullet, and it doesn't matter what you do, that rifle's not going to group at 600 yards. Where another one will drive tacks at 600. So quality control, production, I mean, there's a lot to it. Rifling twist. Uberti and Pietta don't use the same twist of rifling. The Pietta is not made to shoot conicals, but yet the rifling shoots conicals better than Uberti. And I've seen it myself, and I've heard a lot of people say the same thing.
I mean, well, you've seen what I was doing with round balls out of this. I mean,
that gun's made to shoot round balls.
Yeah, and I even think I even put a few the conicals the Sugarloafs that you had, and shot about almost the exact same. I think I shot them about the exact same. I think.
Well, you got to remember you're shooting at 15 or 25 yards. If you're going to try to shoot at 100, now you're going to hurt more.
I was talking about that day we were at the range and we were shooting at
35 yards.
Yeah, I mean, and if I'm not mistaken, that's about where they were told to use the pistol was about 35 yards with these. And I mean this. Hold on. Maybe you can answer this one. Pat Punham says my short barrel Remington 54 hit 4 inches high and 4 inches left at 7 yards. He's been trying to figure it out for a while now. Anyway, well, if you know it's shooting that high and that far right, my best way would be to drop it down 4 inches and over 4 inches. Or you could mess with the sights. But, that's one. That's two of the ways you can do it.
If I shoot what I call my lead service load, what I just load for my standard, this is my basic load, 250 grain lead round nose flat point. I don't usually share my load data because it's not in the book, and so I don't share it. But anyways, it's a standard load, but it's a pretty hot load. So all of my 1871 Colt Uberti and the Cimarron 1858 factory 45 Colt conversion, they both shoot between 2 and 4 inches high at 25 yards. I have to aim low. And the only, it's like my Pieta shot. Oh my God, my Pieta shot like 36 inches high at 100 yards. It was ridiculously stupid high. And that was using conical bullets with black powder, just percussion cylinders. So I had a taller front sight put on it. So if, and I don't know what this is going to look like through the camera because I can't do it backwards. So basically, if the bullet hits to my left over here, then if I move this to the left, then I have to twist the gun to the left. If I'm shooting high, then I need to bring my front sight up so I can tilt the gun down. Or I've got to file a notch in the back lower so I can pick the back up. You can use your fingers and kind of figure that out. A lot of this stuff is going to basically be reduce your powder charge. That's one thing. If it's shooting really, really high and you're shooting a max load with the powder, drop the charge down. That'll make the bullet fall faster. You have to do Kentucky windage.
And well, I had the exact same sharp percussion that you had, and we were shooting at what, a little over 30. I think it was close to 40 yards. We had to shoot about at the ground, but we hit the swing, little 2.5 inch swinger target at 40 yards.
When you looked at the swinger target, if I can make it flat, so you look at the swinger target and you got the frame, there was a little bar, it went down, there was a little bar underneath there. We had to aim at that bar to hit the middle here. So we had to aim about 4 inches low to hit that. Now my Pieta, that one, because of the taller front sight, you hold where you want to hit. But that's because I put a taller front sight on it and I filed it back down until I got it zeroed to where I wanted it for my load.
But like I said, but I was saying you were having a hard time getting something, it to hit.
That was in 71.
Oh.
The whole blow. I aimed hard to hit up at the middle.
Just so we can take the confusion out of everyone, this rifle right here. I saw you were using the same bullet. You were saying you were having a little bit of trouble. You were thinking that you had to take this notch out because you said it was shooting high, I believe.
Yeah, I took that notch down as far as I could. I opened it up a lot wider so you could see through it better, and I made it lower, and I filed the top of that rear sight down. Like I said, if this is my rear sight and this is my front sight, if it's like this, that means I have to bring that muzzle up to level it. So if I file this down, then I have to bring the muzzle down to level it.
You want to know how I got it started shooting more closer to aim at 100 yards?
You got your load right.
That, and I took this screw off, knocked this out, took a little bit off the base because I noticed it wasn't sitting exactly flush. Noticed it was sitting. Well, here it was sitting kind of like this.
Yeah.
It wasn't. No, well, here it wasn't sitting like I'm using this little denter thing. It wasn't sitting like this. It was sitting kind of like this.
Yeah.
It was just barely off. It was just a little bit, a little tick. I just flattened it out, popped it back in, put the screw in. That was it. And then I noticed it was shooting still a little low, and then I started messing with. That's when I started messing with the powder charge, because I was using the powder charge you sent me. I started being able to hit a decent group. Then I'm like, I want to try these the later style flat based bullets, cartridges, and then that's really when this thing started shining. And
that's what
I'm like,
you gotta work up a load for a rifle, because that came with 100. That was a 100-yard rifle for the military.
oh yeah.
And we're shooting targets at 50 yards, 25 yards. So it's going to shoot high. And if you want to tame it down, you got to work with the sight. You got to work with the load.
Yeah. I was to start shooting at 50 yards, I would cut the charge in half. Just, that way I'd have a base point, fill those up with, and then make like 10 of those cartridges. Then bump it up by, 5 grains, fill with cornmeal or some kind of filler, and make 10 of the, that's kind of how I did it to get the charge. But it seems like 60 grains with those
Way up.
double 60 grains, and doesn't kick it with that lead, doesn't kick. But those sharps, those ones that Track of the Wolf sells, for it to get the full thing in here and to shoot accurately with those things, I have to have 80 grains in this thing to shoot accurately. So I tried, 60 grains, cornmeal filler. There was one over here. There was one in the cornfield over there. There was one hit up in a tree. One hit 5 feet in the dirt. It just threw it everywhere. So I made some more of those, bumped up until literally it was filled from the here to here with powder. And then those are the ones that started shooting accurately at 100 yards. And I'm like, really? I have to overcharge the rifle to get something hitting the way it's supposed to. But then I'm like, oh, wait. It's a Spencer. It's not head spacing off of the front of the bullet like the Lee is. It's head spacing on a little band that's a little bigger, and there's some of the bullet up and actually starting to touch the. I don't know if it's actually touching the rifling or starting to be close to the rifling.
When you shoot a black powder cartridge like your 4570 sharps, your Pedersolis, the C sharps, and the Shilohs, when you shoot the soft lead bullets with the black powder load, they always say, now the people who win the competitions, okay, whatever anybody else says, the people who actually win the blue ribbon and take the trophy home, want you to take that bullet and push it to where it actually starts to engage the rifle. What a modern 5.56 to 7, the 308s, you want that bullet to unseat and jump a little bit to engage the rifling. Or with black powder, you want that bullet to go in and actually press against the rifling to engage it. So when it fires, it's already there. And that makes a big difference in shooting soft lead bullets.
Yeah, and that's that's what I found out. Because I put it in there, and then I was a pain in the butt to put that thing down. All this, because I was trying not to hit the hammer because I can't. I took dropped the breech block, put that up in there, and just popped it down there. And from what I can see, it starts on that band, and then the rifling kind of squeezes it down to about ish. I won't say right in this area somewhere. It starts really grabbing that front of the bullet. So that band, it's kind of right on that band for a while with a Christmas. I think they called nicknamed the Christmas tree bullet. So it looks like a Christmas tree. And then it starts really grabbing the front of it. Or it's grabbing the front of it here, and that lead just. I just don't know yet. I can't, visually watch it as it's shooting down the barrel. I don't have a barrel cam, so I can't watch it as I was knocking it up.
You'd have to take a wooden dowel rod and just kind of drive one through it.
That's, like I said, that's what I was kind of doing, and I did it from this way, and I should have done it from this way. But I made the mistake. And I've got one. I'm gonna retry it in the video and do it the right way and see, Now with the Monet, I was gonna try those, but they're smaller, so I put extra lube on them. And I have not got to try those out yet. I'm also going to try. I've got some rat tails made up. I was going to I tried making them like the military did it for their muskets, but instead of flipping the bullet around to where you would put it in there and then tear the paper off and then send it home, just had the bullet straight, and then just basically have more paper on top, thicker piece of paper on top of it to help make up that as until it expands. And Vanessa Kitty asked what powder I was using. I'm using Goex 2FG because that is the cheapest powder near me. If I had a little bit more money, I'd try some Schutzen.
I've always had good luck with Goex. I've got a bunch of it because, well, the factory burned down like 20 years ago, and we ordered a bunch of cases through my Civil War group. So I had basically 25 pounds of black powder. And then I got out. I actually got out of this hobby. I quit shooting black powder altogether. I got it back into my modern binge. And then Hell on Wheels came out, and I saw Cullen Bohannon out there, and like, I kind of missed. So that's where I kind of got back into it. That's where I basically started going on Facebook and meeting everybody. That's where I met Jeremy. So,
Yeah.
And
Night Trapper Paul, and just I picked one up at a pawn shop because I was looking for something different. I was tired of bolt actions. I was tired of the ARs. I just wanted something different. Everyone's arguing about which bolt action is the best, which pump action shotgun is the best, which AR is the best. And if you said you didn't care, you just liked the gun because it shot, you can shoot it well. Good Lord, have mercy! Did you get berated?
I hate to tell you, but that $300 Mossberg at Walmart's got pretty much the same barrel as the $1,200 sniper rifle. The way they CNC machine it and produce these things, cheap guns will shoot pretty darn good. Not all, but a lot of them will shoot just as good as a lot of the high dollar guns.
I think the only way they're different is the way they bet them.
Well, I mean, you're just talking about a crappy finish on a horrible stock. It looks like crap. It's not a piece of artwork. It's just like, it's a blah plain rifle that shoots. And it's not really made to shoot 1,000 yards. It's made to shoot about 150 to 300 yards.
Yeah, but I think Eagle Eye Shooting bought West Covina, I believe it was the TC Compass. It was like the cheapo rifle that you could get at Walmart, like or any sporting goods. And
he on sale with a scope and a sling.
Yeah, and I think he was able. I think he upgraded the sights. I think he rebedded it or something, and didn't put too much more into it. Compass 308, and he took it out to 1,000 yards. So I'm saying you could buy a cheap rifle and then put a little work into it, and if you wanted to take it out to 300 yards, take it out to 300 yards.
Look at the work I put into that Pieta. I mean, people that are on my group have seen me shoot my B torso at 175 yards with that pistol using chemical bullets. Now, I have stoned down the face of the cylinder. I've reset the head space between the forcing cone and the throats of the cylinders. I've added the front sight. I've reamed out the inside of that. I've done everything I can do to that pistol that I could possibly do. I put a lot more than just TLC into that gun. It's almost blood, sweat, and tears for skinning my knuckles on it. But that gun shoots. It shoots as good as, if not better, than any modern firearm I own, with a percussion cylinder, with a Johnson & Dale conical bullet, with the paper cartridge, and dipped in beeswax. So, I mean, I've literally retrograded back to 1862, and I'm out shooting every modern firearm I own. Maybe I'm not shooting any better, but I'm not shooting any worse. But I'll tell you what, that gun was a piece of crap out of the box.
Yeah. Okay. Wes Covina said he put a cheap $35 scope on it, and his best shooter is a Savage. Yeah, I mean,
Give me 1 second.
so Savages make actually pretty damn good guns. I've had a few Savages that were damn good shooters. If I'm not mistaken, my grandpa's 270 was either a Savage or a Browning. I'm not sure. And it dropped many deers. I've dropped many deers with that 270. I mean, it's just, I mean, but I'm just saying, West Covina, he took a cheapo rifle and made it into what most people consider a competition rifle. And I not mistaken, wasn't like, didn't he say like his total whole build was, and not including the rifle, like maybe 200 and something bucks, if I'm not mistaken, Wes? I'm not sure. I've been trying to catch up on his videos, but he puts out so many. And then there's so many other people that put out videos, and I gotta watch them too. And then there's just not enough time. If I could make if I could make money off of watching people do stuff on YouTube while making YouTube videos, I would take that job. That way I can watch all my friends' videos and make my own. Then, because I would have enough time to do it. I'm gonna say, I was telling everybody, I'm not mistaken, he didn't put a lot of work into that, turning that compass in.
Well, the more work you put into it, the better, the more you're going to get out of it. Now you're talking Savage. Now, I've got some pretty awesome guns. I'm kind of an old guy, been around for a while, but I've got more money in this EOTech than I've got into the Savage Axis. This is my little left-handed jewel, and this gun at 25 yards will put 3 bullets to the same hole. And that's braced off the back of the bed of my pickup truck. And I may wind up, because I put this Picatinny rail on it so I can use all my military grade QD mounts and ACOGs and tri-powers and stuff. But I stuck this ACOG on it because I watch these little European YouTube videos where they're out there shooting hogs and they got people running them back and forth across the road. And I use this, I figure I set this up like a little stalking rifle. But it's got a 24-inch barrel. It'll shoot the crap out of a 55 grain bullet. So, I mean, I've got plenty, and you can shoot this thing very economically. And like I said, I put this, this takes the AA batteries, and Lord, it takes a while to kill them. But, you know, I shot the EOTech. I actually got it almost for free with a trade on an AR-15. And I got the rifle for a song and a dance. So you figure about maybe $400, probably less than $400. And this is like one of the most awesome little bolt actions I've ever owned. And I've owned some expensive guns in my day, but you know what? This thing shoots just as good as any of them. My Browning BLR lever action, that's a tack driving fool, but it won't outshoot this thing. It doesn't shoot any worse, but it doesn't shoot any better.
Yeah, Wes Covina says he's not sure. He thinks he's into his 6.5. He's like 400 or so, and his compass he's about 250. I'm gonna have to talk. I'm gonna have to get when next time I'm on a live chat with Eagle Eye. I'm gonna have to ask him. I've been curious about that. Like I said, I haven't been able to keep up. But
if you go down to Walmart and you pick up a rifle on sale and you can get it for under $300, just go figure. You've got $100 leeway to go buy a nice set of glass. And you upgrade the scope a little bit, and you'd be amazed how good that gun can shoot.
And especially if you're reloading as well for the cartridge, that also is going to help you too. Because sometimes, let's face it, sometimes factory ammo sucks. Like these HMSs, I was getting more power out of these. I was getting more power out of the 35 grains of GoX 2FG, not 3FG, 2FG. than those things. But the thing is, I paid a little over $35 for them, using the same bullet. And Trail Boss, for me to reload 100 of these cost me about roughly 5. Loading black powder, it's about 10 for 100. Black powder is more expensive because black powder is expensive. And I'm talking about that's primer, that's powder, and that's the lead when I have to buy it. When I actually have to buy the lead, it's about $5 100. But when I don't have to buy it, it's like $250 for 100, and that's the powder and primer. But I wrote him an email and says, "Look, black powder, standard military powered charge for the 45 Colt beats yours every time. I shot 100 of these over a chronograph. I have an 8-inch. Well, I got right here. Out of this model Remington right here. This is the exact same Remington. That 100 of those averaged 725. Well, load up to 35s. I'm getting close to 875.
You got an 8-inch barrel on that bad boy too. So if you compare that to a lot of modern guns like my Cimarrons, the 4 5/8, that's going to shoot a lot harder and a lot further, just because you're getting more velocity out of that barrel.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying. Like I said, same exact, same gun. I did all the testing on the same gun, but my reloads did better, and we're shooting better groups. We had a target behind it. I was first time ever loading these up. Yeah, now that hit accurately at 20 yards. It hit a man-sized target 15 times. But we were over the chronograph at just a box. If the box got hit, it was cause for celebration. The box was only 10 yards away. 35. The black powder loads. Boom, 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 boom. That compared black powder to Trail Boss, and I was only getting a few 5-10 grains difference between the black powder loads. So not much difference. And so far I haven't blown my gun up. And I even loaded some copper jacketed hollow points. Soft tipped copper jacketed hollow points. Shot that out of that one. Since it was a 250 grain bullet, I loaded 6 grains of Trail Boss behind them. That's what the reloading manual said to load for a 200 grain copper jacketed bullet. The bullet I just said. So that's a tongue twister trying to say at almost midnight, which we're going to be shutting this down here in about 5-10 minutes. So actually, I get some sleep. But I'm just saying, factory ammo. That's the difference. That's why I kind of keep reloading instead of selling all my reloading equipment to buy a bunch of factory ammo. That's another reason I reload. I mean, it's just
Factory ammo has its own proprietary blend of powder for the most part that we can't get. They produce a baseline cartridge for a baseline set of performance, accuracy, and dependability. But when you reload, then you can customize it to what you want. And I want to throw this in there because, well, I want to reload so I can make a more powerful cartridge. Well, 300 blackout. I've been watching a lot of videos where they're doing night vision thermal hunts on hogs. 150 grain bullet, 7.62 30 caliber bullet, 150 80 grains fired off a 223 case at low velocity at 200 yards is literally dropping deer and hogs in their track. Now that is a very low velocity bullet compared to a 308, where you're actually shooting the exact same bullet at almost another 600 to 800 feet per second. Maybe even depending like 300 Win Mag or something, you know. But the point I'm trying to make is you don't always have to be bigger, badder, and better, because there's a point to where you're not going to get more results out of the extra power, the recoil, the report, and you know, as old guys, our wrists start to hurt, our elbows start to hurt, our, you know, the beating that your body takes is not going to be worth all that extra money and energy that you're expending unless you just like the noise and the recoil. So they always say, well, how do I make my cap and ball more powerful? You don't have to. What did Mark Hubbs say? 25 grains for the 1862 Johnson & Dowell for the paper cartridges. I load 28 or 29. And that's just because I take a 30 grain flask, the nipple, and when I dip my finger in it, it's 30 grains minus whatever amount of skin I got pushed down inside there. So I call it a 28. But my gun likes a 28. Would I get more energy and performance with 40 grains if I compressed it in a case? Well, I'm going to burn a lot more powder outside the barrel.
Yeah.
You shoot the Colt Walker, anything over 45 grains is typically going out of the barrel and it's burning in a big fireball up in front of the gun, and you're not getting a thing out of it. If you're loading smokeless powder, I'm going to throw a load out. Well, actually, I'm not going to throw the load out. You can shoot a 44 Magnum that'll just about unseat bullets if they're not crimped in right. I've seen 44 Magnums get unseated from the case, from the recoil. And it hits a pig, it flips it over, it blows it apart, all right? You take a 44 special case, and you can look in some loading data, and you can experiment on your own. I'm not going to give you this because if you put an Italian gun, you're going to blow it up. But you can take a 44 special and use the right load in it, and it'll pick the shoulder up on a 350-pound hog and roll her over on its back. And it ain't going to get up. And that load is not going to make the gun fly out of your hand and hit the guy standing next to you in the forehead. It's going to be very pleasant, very manageable. The report and recoil is not going to break your wrist. But that bullet is delivering all of its energy to that hog. And for what you're doing with it, you're not gaining that much extra by using the Magnum charge. I'm trying, and I realize everybody's not a reloading expert, so I'm not trying to make myself sound smart by getting super technical and everything like that, but you're getting the point. You reach a certain level of power and performance in a cartridge. If you push it further and harder and faster, you're not going to get a good or better result from it than what you're getting at a lower velocity.
And sometimes with smokeless, sometimes you can exceed the pressure thresholds of either your revolver or semi-auto, bolt. You know, you can overpressure your gun, and it basically becomes a hand grenade.
There's a lot of photos and videos that you can find on YouTube where it's missing the top 3 cylinders. And you got to really be careful with that when you're using conversion kits, because a lot of the cap and ball firearms themselves, it's a very good quality of steel, and the CNC machining is there. Like I said, sometimes you've got to give it that TLC to flatten out and hand fit some things, but overall they're very good guns. But they're not going to take Ruger Contender loads. Like you go buy the Buffalo bore bullets, if we don't even talk reloading, you go buy the wrong bullet, you just loaded a hand grenade.
Oh yeah, or you don't read your. Vanessa Kitty, we're not talking about flintlocks tonight because I had a chance to get one and I lost I didn't get to it in time, so let's not talk about that. Like, I think if I was to take IMR and put maybe 2 or 3 grains over the maximum charge for the 45 Colt, I could blow out the cylinder and say I'll put it in that my cartridge conversion. I could blow my gun up just by or damage it in some way, knock a pin loose. It's just there's hurt myself, had the gun barrel come on. There's a lot of things that could happen. Vanessa, it's fine. It's just I don't want to talk about him right now because it was a little. Okay, I'll tell you why I'm a little upset about not getting that pin. It was a 69 caliber smooth bore flintlock. All it needed was a piece of flint for $100. I would have loved that thing. I would have made it look pretty. And well, it needed some stock work, but you know, yeah. Well, it just needed to be resanded. It had some nicks and stuff. I was going to resand it, rebrown it. I could go get the flint. It's not there's not. I mean, I know where I can go get some flint, for $2 or $3 a piece. Thanks to Mark Hubbs, the Black Powder Maniac shooter. If I'm not sure how old it was, but it just it looked like maybe it was a kit gun, but you can never know. Only markings that I could read, like I saw on it was a CVA, so it's probably a kit gun. But I was going to get a 69 caliber mold for round ball so I could shoot out of it. I was going to shoot shot out of it. Just have a nice little find, you know. Well, West Covina, you said the gun you need will find you. Thanks to Don, and just a random comment, I guess. Like I think I said I needed to get me a Sharps, and then like a couple months later, thanks, boom, here it was. Long story short, I said I made a random comment, and then I got me one. I think we should be safe about YouTube not saying exactly how I got it. Let's say money transferred hands, I got a Sharps, and someone got a nice chunk of change. I think that shouldn't get, and everybody should know who I got it from.
Private conversation.
Yeah.
Figured out where something needed to go to.
Yeah.
Now it's to somebody who's truly going to love it.
And I want to say something. We had, I was out working and I was carrying this. I was, for that day, because we were going to demonstrate rifles of some of the Confederate soldiers that came back, and we had a hog problem. There was a hog roaming around and it was scaring some people, so I took one of my non-blanks and loaded it up. I literally have a box that says blanks, not blanks no more. I loaded it up, put a percussion cap on here, went out, found it, boom. We took it back, skinned it, stuck it on the Barbie, and that was a good lunch.
Jeremy, I want to throw one thing in here for him right quick because we've talked about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And we're talking about different loads, smokeless powder. I'm going to share what I do. If I can get my camera right. If y'all see this, this is one of my paper cartridges. This is loaded with nothing but black powder. I don't even have to think about it. I will make a smokeless cartridge with a paper cartridge around it. Okay? Instantly recognized. This is the same bullet, the Johnson & Dow conical heel bullet that I ran through a lube sizer, and I put it on this case. Any brass cartridge that has a Johnson & Dow bullet on it is black powder. Any full size, full cartridge length 45 Colt with a lead bullet is safe for me to shoot in every single 45 Colt revolver or rifle that I own. Now, since I do have an old model Vaquero and I do have some stuff, any bullet that has a brass jacketed or copper jacketed bullet in it, like this is an SST hollow point, if it is a copper jacketed bullet of any type, that is a Buffalo Bore Ruger Contender bullet, and it will blow up a conversion or Italian gun.
Oh yeah.
So whenever you make different types of ammunition in the same caliber, and that's the key thing, it's the same caliber. They all interchange. You have to have some way of knowing what you never put into a certain gun so you don't turn it into a hand grenade.
And all my loads, all my 45 caliber, I have loaded for my 45 cartridge converted Remington. I think it's the 1860
1850.
model-ish. Let's see, because it says because that's not a black powder, right? I think she's talking about that last comment you were making. You made. There's about.
If I look at the bullet, I know what it's safe to shoot in. If I look at the bullet on the case, I know what I can and cannot use it in.
I think she's talking about because you were talking about. West Convenience says that's why I don't own a 300 Blackout. I don't want to slam one into a 223.
Yeah, that can be bad. It's actually putting the 223 into the Blackout. The Blackout won't fit into the 223, but the 223 will fit into the Blackout, and that makes for a bad day.
Yeah, she says I guess she clarified. The Buffalo Bore is not round. Is not a black powder, correct? No, if I'm not mistaken.
Only Ruger, Blackhawk, old model, not new model, but old model Vaquero, Contender rifle like your single shot Contenders, Marlins, but that is your heavy Buffalo Bore smokeless powder load, and it will blow up an Italian gun or conversion. It will turn it into a hand grenade and blow the top strap and 3 cylinders, 3 chambers of the cylinder right off the gun. A Ruger Contender, high pressure. This is not a standard 45 Colt load, but it is a standard 45 Colt cartridge. It will chamber in any 45 Colt chambered gun I own, but it will blow some of them up. So if it has a copper jacketed bullet on it, I know not to put it in your Birdie, Pieta, or any other conversion kit. If it has a lead bullet, this is a smokeless bullet, but it's a standard 45 Colt cowboy load that's safe in all guns. So copper jacket to me means modern gun, modern loading. It can blow up an Italian gun. The lead bullet, I can load in anything I want that it'll fit in, and I can shoot it safely. Now, these full-length 45 Colts will not chamber in the Pieta R&D Howell conversion or my Curse conversion because the overall cartridge length is too long and it sticks out the cylinder about a 1/16 of an inch. So even these technically are a little bit stiff for those conversions. That's why I have the other ones, my Schofields and the Johnson and Dow conical bullets on the Schofield that distinguish between black powder and smokeless powder. Let me clarify. Now, this is Ruger Contender only. This blows up Italian guns. It turns them into hand grenades. This one is safe for all modern 45 Colt chambered guns. My 58 Cimarron factory 45 Colt conversion and my Uberti 1871 open top factory conversion gun. When I shoot my Pieta R&D Howell conversion or my Uberti parts assembled by U.S. Firearms 4 Colt Uberti curse conversion, I have these Schofields. All right, these are the shorter cases. The round bullet, or the flat nose bullet, is loaded with smokeless powder, but it's a cowboy load. It's safe in all guns. It doesn't matter what I put it in, it won't blow it up. The Johnson and Dow, which is the heeled conical bullet that I loop sized and put in the Schofield case, is loaded with black powder. Now, I'm not saying this is how you have to do it, but what I'm saying is you need to have a method so that when you look at your bullet, if nothing's written down on paper, there's no tape on the box, there's no load data whatsoever, you need to be able to recognize what you have that you loaded just by the way the bullet is configured, how it's loaded, and what it's loaded with. So this bullet is a lead round nose 200 grain Lyman cowboy bullet that I bought from Bullet Works in Brackenridge, Texas. It's loaded with a cowboy safe in all guns, no matter what they are, conversion, factory open top, Italian, whatever. This is a safe bullet. This one is a safe bullet in all modern 45 Colt chambered factory guns. My new model Vaqueros, my Cimarron 45 Colt, my 1858 45 Colt, my 1871 Uberti factory firearm, not conversion, but built as a firearm, Colt. You put this copper jacketed bullet in it, you got a hand grenade unless it's in an old model Vaquero or Blackhawk. Or like the Winchester Marlin, some of the rifles will take it. But don't give it a steady diet. You might mess up once or twice. It'll remind you of it, but don't give it a steady diet. They're not going to like it in the long run.
The way Buffalo Bore has been explained to me is basically it's a
This
45 caliber.
It's this one right here. It's an upgraded powder charge for Ruger Contender specifications.
It's kind of like the Magnum of the 45s, but under plus P for 45. Because there are some 45 plus P as well, and there are, you got to be careful what you put in those. You can't just slap those in anything. You slap a 45 plus P even into a modern one, some modern Colt Peacemaker models, and it's not the right one, it will blow it up as well. So it's kind of, it's
I'm gonna have to hit the bed here in a few minutes, but I'm gonna read this straight out of the reloading manual. So we use grains as a unit of measure. Okay, I've got a scale over here. You got grains, you got whatever, but we're gonna go by the grains. If you don't know what a grain is, don't worry about it because the book tells you what the grains are and you can use the scale. But a 45 Colt standard, and this is I'm trying to read his book in the middle of the night. All right, so you have a 250 grain bullet, and I'm going to pick a powder like Unique because it's what I reload. The maximum load for Unique with a 250 grain bullet is 9.5 grains. That's Unique. That's the brand and the type of powder. You got bullseye, you got red dot, you got different types of powder. But when you take that powder, unique, 9.5 grains is the maximum that you can load a 45 Colt and be safe in all guns. Now, you can see here, hopefully it says 45 Colt. The next part of the book, it says 45 Colt Ruger Contender only. That means it has to be fired out of a Ruger Blackhawk or a Contender handgun. You go over here to the 250 grain bullet, which this is an old book. It may not actually go that far up. To unique. It's telling me that the Ruger Contender load starts at 9.5 grains and goes to 10.5. I have seen it on the internet to where it goes to 11.5. I won't shoot that because I don't need to punish myself or the gun with that much energy. But I'm just going to make the point. If you load 9.5 and below, it's pretty much safe, according to this book. If you load up to 10.5, it'll blow up the Italian gun, but it's safe in the Blackhawk, the Contender, and some of your Winchester Marlin carbines. So the point is, if you're going to go by Ruger Contender load data, you need to shoot it out of a Ruger or a Contender pistol. If you go out of the 45 Colt data, then you can go with any gun, modern chambered, for 45 Colt. I don't know how else to explain that, but you have to stick to the reloading manual. When you exceed that is when they start turning into hand grenades.
In other words, if you're going to reload, do your homework thoroughly.
And don't take anybody's word for it. Go get you a reloading manual, a modern one, not a. That one's dated 1969, and I have a lot of notes that I've been keeping over the years. But point is, go get you a modern reloading manual, or go to a lot of the power like DuPont, Hornady, Hodgdon, people that make bullets, people that make powder. They usually have load data online, free reloading data. Type, you Google it, whatever, and you can say, okay, I have a 45 Colt. It has a 4 5/8 inch barrel. This bullet, and it's going to give you and this powder with this primer, and it's going to give you the load data for that powder, that bullet, and that primer from the minimum to the maximum. You can go down to the minimum. Don't go below the minimum, because that's where you might get what's called a squibbler, where the bullet doesn't make it out of the barrel, or there's not enough powder in there, and it actually causes it to burn in a way that gives it a pressure spike that could actually be dangerous, because you're going to spike that inside between the bullet where it starts pushing it and it spikes. You generate an extreme amount of pressure because there's not enough powder. Too much powder, you're creating a pressure spike because now you're putting too much energy out too fast, and that's where you blow guns up. So you stay between the minimum and the maximum. You don't exceed it, and you don't go below it.
I'm gonna show them just how easy it is. Hold on 1 second. All right, but Plowboy says he's been shooting 8.2 grains of universal under a 4.52, but Plowboy, he was talking about unique. You're talking about universal. That's
Universal has a whole different set of load data.
Hold on 1 second, and I'm gonna show y'all. Here's Trail Boss. Here's their. Oh, okay. I'm on their. I got onto their website. Yes, yes, Plowboy. They are very close, but they're not exactly the same. I mean, different. They're close, but Close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. And we don't want hand grenades. Share screen. All right, that's showing y'all. Okay, click present to everybody. Okay, and then I click here. Is that hold on? I gotta make sure that's showing this. Yes. Okay. Now, okay. See, I'm on the Hodgson website right here. Load data. This is the first when I first started loading with Trail Boss. This is the first place I went. I want to click reloading data center pistols. Step 1, select a cartridge. 45 Colt. And if you noticed here, it had 45 Colt, Ruger Freedom Arms, TC only, 45 Winchester Magnum. So be careful which one you get. Okay, because there is a few 45s and you make sure you don't misclick.
All different cartridges. It's like Schofield versus Long Colt. Those are two completely different cartridges. So we're doing 45 Colt or 45 Long Colt.
Okay, and then you would select a bullet weight. I'm doing for mine. I'm doing mine are actually probably a little underpowered because they're about 210. They're in between right here. They're between because they come out at 210. So I load at 220, 200, which is manufacturer. Mine's Hodgson, so I click Hodgson's, and then they've got the different types, and you click the brand you've got, and you click get data.
See, there's a universal load right there if you wanted to click it. But yeah, you're doing the Trail Boss.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I could click universe, and you can kind of click data.
Yeah.
And
See,
this is what
when I load my everyday lead loads, I use the clays because I got it cheap and I got plenty of it.
yeah, there's a Clay's load too. But it says for this weight right here, there's only one load data. 5.5 grains. For starting load, maximum load right here, 6.5. I load mainly about 5.7 because it's, like I said, it's in between these, and that's where it hit accuracy. It's 5.7. Now, so I mean, it's bullet diameter. Now, here's the thing. Mine's an 8-inch barrel. This is for a 7.25 barrel.
Well, that was a test barrel. That's the length of barrel that they tested that load in their pressure barrel.
Yeah. So I'm probably getting a little bit. So I'm probably getting about this, maybe a little bit more. If I was to load 5.5 grains, I probably get a little bit more than
720 feet per second. 750 to 720 maybe.
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit more. Like I said, I'm getting a good amount more than this, and a little bit more than this. But like I said, I'm also using a heavier bullet. So at this, I'm not getting any of this. All this is right here is because it's a different barrel length. Now you said you use what did you use?
Universal. Or you use Universal, I use clays.
Okay. And I'm gonna click the 200. I'm gonna say the 200. So
unclick your Trail Boss. That way we don't confuse it.
yeah. Like I said, say I'm using my cast bullets.
What grain bullet is he shooting?
I'm shooting 210 grain, but because that's what they drop out as is consistently is 210, but it's supposed to be a 200 grain.
Yeah.
So again, same barrel length. Hudson Universal. See, look at this, 8 grains.
Yeah, he said he's loading 8.2, so he's probably shooting about 9 1/4.
Yeah, so I could, and this right here all this right here is within the pressure gap of my revolver, so I could load this right here.
Now, when you see that cup right there, that means copper units of pressure, which is some kind of a measuring system that they use.
Well, this is for a copper jacketed. This is for the copper jacket.
This is copper. It says pressure, right? That means copper units of pressure. Now, most of your Italian guns are pressure tested to be around 15,000 cup. So if you look over here at the maximum at 9 grains, you're getting over 1,000 feet per second, and you're producing almost 1,400 copper units of pressure.
Yeah,
So
and this
you can see where you're starting out at 8 grains, and you're like basically 5,400 copper units of pressure below your maximum limit. But on this side at 9 grains, you're only 1,100 copper units of pressure from hitting the maximum that the gun is designed to carry as a steady diet.
And then, but that's for a Hornady XTX-P bullet. I don't shoot that one.
Yeah.
So I go down to the cast.
Yeah, but that's when you look this loading data up. See, like right here, that's 39. The lead bullet is at 13.6. But you can see how going from the minimum to the maximum can, with smokeless powder, you build a lot of pressure and a lot of energy in a very short spike. And that's what blows your gun up. Because let's say you messed up and you dropped 10 grains of that and you exceeded it and you went to, say, 19,000 pounds cup. Well, you might actually crack your cylinder open. Mm-hmm. You might blow it out. You might set off 2 or 3 chambers and blow the whole top of the gun off.
Now, what
you're playing with smokeless, black powder is very forgiving. Smokeless powder, not so much.
You said you
about a small amount of powder, like 5 grains. If you double charge it, it's very easy to put 10 grains of powder in it. It's like universal. I mean, unique.
I can get, before I notice I mess up, I can easily get 2 charges in there. Now,
That
clay. Another one.
Safe load to a load that blows your gun up, just like that.
And I switched to clays, and it only has a cast bullet load.
Yeah, that's a pistol shotgun powder. That is pistol shotgun powder.
Yeah, and
very few loads for that.
Yeah, but look at the differences. At 5.9 grains, which, I mean, that's only 4 grains more than my Trail Boss. Look at the pressure cup there.
Yeah. You're like right there, at the max. But you can imagine if you dropped 9 grains of clays inside that case, you'd be pressure spiking around 20,000 cup, maybe 25,000.
Okay, let's hold on, let me look.
I shoot a 200. Go ahead and put my load in. Put the 250 grain bullet. Go ahead and click off the 200. That way we don't confuse it.
Yeah, there we go. Update data.
Hodgson, now go to the clays and let's see what they're saying my maximum powder charge is.
5.1 grains. Right here for a 250 grain cast Lyman round nose flat point.
Well, that's basically what I shoot. And I have actually seen it where it said I could load 5.9 before.
Well,
I don't know where 5.9 is going to fall into, but a lot of these it's done by different test pressure barrels and stuff.
And also, if I'm not mistaken, isn't yours a little bit longer of barrel length? Because sometimes barrel length comes into it too.
Well, the barrel length is not going to change the pressure of the cartridge. It's just going to increase the muzzle velocity of the bullet.
All right. You also said
my Remington 58 and my 71 open top have 8-inch barrels.
Yeah. Okay, I switched it to universal. It's got 2 loads for that as well, and look how dramatically different they change. I mean, let's take out the copper.
he's loading 8.2. He's probably shooting around 11,000 cup.
Yeah, so it's well, no, that's for your 250. What is he shooting? The 255, I think.
I shoot a 250.
Yeah, well, it doesn't even have a 250. I'm trying to see what Plowboy says he shoots. Let me click on that. Look from one. I can just click here. Plowboy's
He says he's shooting a 255.
255. Okay.
So you'd use basically the 250 grain bullet. If it doesn't have the listing, you're going to go to the closest one.
Yeah.
So he's still well below the 15,000 pound cup.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I got that 15,000 pound cup from one of the owner's manuals. Actually, it was in my Pedersoli trapdoor owner's manual because it had the basic, the Pedersoli trapdoor carbine. The original carbines were 17,000 cup, black powder, 1800s production. Mine was, I think, 19 cup, or no, 25 cup is what they recommend you don't exceed, and they pressure tested it at 29. So black powder original 17, mine is 25, not to exceed 29. So that's that. But when I looked in there, it said most of all the Uberti, the 73 whatever barrel length, those were standardized at about 15 cup for pistol loads.
So, but
15 or below, you're doing fine. Now, there's also, when you fire your brass, make sure there's no case bulging, cracking, and then another way to determine if you're overpressurizing the load, if you have a flattened primer. You know, when you look at it, you can see how it kind of like rounds off, goes into the case. But if it's completely pushed out and the whole bottom of that case is perfectly flat, that you've unseated that primer and you flatten it out under the pressure. If you've got primer flattening, you need to back off.
yeah, and I hope that clarified what we were trying to. Don was trying to explain right there. I mean, that's the simplest way I could do it. Thank you, Bubba. My brother asked if it was time for coffee. He says I studied Brian Paris and John. I cannot say it. It's Pearce load and John Triffin's writings in arriving at my load. I shot several hundred at 5.8, 8.5, but settled on 8.2. I have no signs at overpressuring at 8.5s. Pearce is how it's pronounced, he says. Well, I mean, and also at the same time, some guns, let's face it, are not made the same. Oh, to prove my point on that one here, let me unload this because this is the one I have to keep loaded for hogs and other coyotes and other things, so it just stays low. It stays loaded, but it stays where little kids can't get to it. So don't, and it's because there's no little kids here. It's just my cartridge gun now, so. Okay. Got both of these are Pietas, right? I had not got my mold yet, but I had picked up some Hornady round balls at a local sporting goods store. Okay? Hornady usually makes really good-ish round balls. I had this one at first because I got this one from the same person I got my shards from. And just so everyone knows, he's on the panel. I loaded up some Johnson & Dow, had no problem out of them. None at all. And the person that loaded them at, I wanted military spec. The person that casted them for me and sold them to me did what I asked. He didn't have to. They loaded in like butter. The 20-to-1 lead. Loaded in this Pieta Repro like butter. Just done. 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 I go to start loading those Hornady round balls. Broke. Now, I got this one. Took those Hornadies. If I wanted to see if it was just a weak point. I got that little struggling, and then it just goes sink right on down in there. Nope, no damage to this one. From the serial numbers, they're made the same year as well, so it's not a. But moral of the story, I did melt those Hornady down and made my own round balls. But this one didn't break. This one did. So sometimes it is the revolver or rifle or whatever. You just gotta read the manual when it comes to, because at what time did you read about what year did you read that manual at? That you are quoting the 1500 at? About what year ish are you talking about, Don?
Oh God, I guess I bought that trapdoor 8 or 10 years ago. Around 2010.
And they might at 2010 to
Now
almost
this is
decade.
probably standard manufacturing practice. I doubt they've changed that.
Well,
All the cartridge pistols were made for 15,000 pounds cup.
yeah, well, they might have changed it to. They might have lowered it to a little bit because no one, they didn't think because metal prices or whatever. They might have upped it because they could have got better quality metal for cheaper. Maybe, maybe not, or they're having not used as good of metal.
Let me see if I can do something stupid real quick. What is the copper units of pressure for the Uberti revolvers? I don't think they're going to tell us. Cartridge pressure standards. I think, well, here is generic. I can get down here to 45 Colt. Well, they're giving me this, okay, 45 Colt, 14, 16.
Oh, all I'm trying to say is just, if I'm not mistaken, Plowboys is a similar. Plowboy, tell me if I'm wrong, but yours is.
So right here, according to this is off of Wikipedia, the standard cup pressure, and that's just giving me 2 digits. So I'm going to assume this is it's going to be 16 cup, 45 long Colt, not Ruger Contender, but just standard 45 Colt, which is like I say 9.5 grains of unique versus anything above is a contender load, is going to be about 16,000 copper units of pressure, according to a little generic chart here. So Uberti said, okay, we're making our guns for an average of about 15,000. So they're not going to tell you 16. They're going to tell you 15. So you don't try to add 15% or 10% or 18% and blow the gun up.
Yeah, they're going to tell you they're going to tell you this is the maximum. Don't lower to that.
Yeah. You go over this, you avoid the warranty.
Yeah.
So
He says his is a Cimarron, Pieta, and Uberti. Cimarron usually. Sorry, I didn't mean to step on you, Don. I'm sorry.
yeah, I know everything's delayed, so it gets a little goofy. But according to our generic chart, it says 16,000 copper units of pressure. According to the manual that I read, and I've slept a few times in the last 9 or 10 years, but I remember 15. It just sticks in my head because I just remember 15 versus 25 versus the 17 for the original, anyways. So this says 16. They said 50. The load that the young man, Plowboy, was saying, I think we said he's generating 13.9. So he's within the safe parameters.
Yeah, he's well within the safe parameters. Even if he was loading that full charge, I think it was an 8.5. Yeah, he's. But I wouldn't, 8.
9.
Yeah, so 8.9, but still,
13.9 with a maximum.
yeah. So I mean, he's
8.2 is a good load.
yeah.
You're
And
not,
also,
not punishing the gun and yourself every time you pull the trigger.
yeah, and I mean,
And that's still enough energy. What do we say he's getting, about 800 feet per second?
roughly, yeah.
So for a standard 45 Colt, that'll bring down a 300-pound hog. All day. And if you push it up any hotter, it's not going to bring it down any faster for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're not saying Plowboy. I hope you understand. We're not saying that you're doing something unsafe. We're just trying to say,
Man, you're good. You're like golden.
Yeah. We're just trying to say, look, do your research. Make sure, because I didn't show it, but there's an IMR Trail Boss. That's an older powder that is way more cantankerous. He says, no, I knew I was good. Well, I know. I'm just saying, we're trying to use, because I figured you wouldn't mind. I was trying to use your load as a teaching point. Yeah, what I was trying to get out of here.
I think the moral of the story is never take my word for it.
Yeah.
Like,
Don't take.
I load a lot hotter than what those tables are telling you. And I haven't blown anything up yet. Now, knock on some wood, I might blow one up tomorrow, but haven't blown up one yet. But I'm not going to tell you what load I shoot, because if you do it and you blow your gun up, then I'm gonna feel bad, and I might even lose sleep over it. But I'm making a joke here, but you get the point. Do your own research. Don't say, well, I've been using this load for 20 years and I haven't blown one up yet. Well, you didn't tell me you're using a Super Blackhawk. Or you didn't tell me you're using a Super Red Hawk chambered in 454 Casull. I'm using an 1851 Navy conversion with an R&D Howell cylinder, and I just blew off 4 cylinders out of the gun.
Yeah.
Do your own research. Know what you are putting in the case, because when you pull the trigger, you are the only one that's going to reap the benefits, whether they're good or bad, when you pull that trigger. Just do your own research. Never take anybody else's word for it.
Yeah, and I hope you understand, Paul. But we weren't trying to pick on you. We were trying to. I figured because
you had a good load and we ran with it, and we
could use it as a teaching point.
Good load.
Yeah. Oh, believe it or not, Plowboy, every time I go to, if I'm going to try a new powder, because I was going to, Don suggested I try out Clay's. I have checked the page, printed out the page so many times. I'm just like, I don't know why. When I go to try out a new powder, I get a little nervous. I'm like, or I try out a new one. I'm nervous. I'm nervous about pulling that trigger. Like when I tried out those hollow point, those soft point copperhead deck, I hope y'all understood. I was nervous as I was that first shot. I was a little on the nervous side because they came out at 215, so I loaded the minimum pressure for 215 for Trail Boss. And then I just added a grain, and then I just slowly added just a little bit, but stayed under the maximum for those 3 shots. I had a minimum, medium, and then almost maximum loaded in there. And I was kind of afraid I was going to blow up my gun. I was. But after that first one, I'm like, okay, that's not as bad. The one was in the middle wasn't as bad. Still light recoil. And then that one towards the top, I didn't like it as well because I got the same amount of sound. I got the same sound, the same felt recoil, and it hit about the same place as the first 2. So if I was to make a steady diet out of that kind of bullet, I would probably stick closer to the medium. And I have it all written down what I used. But I would make up X amount of bullets at the smallest, medium, and then not to touch that top one so I can figure out kind of where I will like it. And it's just, I feel nervous when I try out something new because I'm afraid, especially with a firearm, it's because it can easily turn into a hand grenade. I'm trying to convey to anyone new to reloading that this can be dangerous. Do your homework. Then redo it, and then redo it. If you're not sure about something, try a different page. Find Facebook groups, MeWe. Look up Headspace. Headspace that's all that's there are reloaders. If I knew how to put, I gotta talk to Load of Bacon to see if I can figure out. So me and him can figure a way to put a link, so I can put links down below about the Headspace, so I can share that page. Because literally, there's nothing but reloaders. They'll help you. They'll give you PDF of like different. I talked to somebody, and he sent me a whole bunch of PDF files of books, of reloading books from like the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s that his dad had, he's had, a few of the newer ones. It's just because that was just for that one bullet type that I had 3 of. I did all that homework for those 3 bullets. And I believe you should do that kind of homework every time, especially if you're new. Just do your homework. That's all. Because if you do your homework and the gun and it blows up, there's either a malfunction in the gun, especially if you're within safe parameters. There was something wrong with the gun to begin with. Or the reloading data somewhere was wrong. I think your manual that you got and that you were quoting from like the 70s had a different load data than what I pulled up on my computer.
All the new load data's got lawyer loads.
Yeah.
Because when the lawyers got involved, the loads got weaker. Yeah. I think the basic moral of the story is you need to really do 3 things. Find about 3 or more sources that you feel comfortable with. Find out what your average is. Because every time if you go to Sierra, they're going to tell you one thing. Hornady's going to tell you something else. DuPont's going to tell you this. Hodgson's going to tell you that. So research your bullet. If you're wanting to develop and work out a good load, get multiple sources and take the average. And then start low and work your way up to where you feel comfortable. You want to be, it's kind of like, I don't know, I used to play pool a lot. And you know what? The softer you can hit that ball, the better you can control it. And the bullet's the same way. You take the smallest bullet and push it out the barrel at the highest velocity you can, you're going to lose accuracy. Use a bigger bullet and slow it down, you're going to get better accuracy. The effectiveness comes from being able to put that bullet where you want it. Now, if you're basically having a giant ball of fire out in front of you every time you pull that trigger, you're going to flinch. You want to be comfortable with that gun. You want to be confident with your load, and you want to be confident with yourself, but you don't want to be scared to pull the trigger because your eardrums are going to bleed every time you squeeze it off. So you get a comfortable load that's not just comfortable for you, but if you're shooting a Super Blackhawk, you can shoot a lot higher load and it'll handle it and you'll feel better. When you get an Italian gun, you're going to rattle that gun to pieces. It's not going to like it, and you're not going to like it. So you're not going to be confident and comfortable, and you're not going to get the satisfaction of being able to shoot accurately with it. So, I mean, what I'm saying is there's a balance. Don't go for the maximum. Be more of a minimalist, and you're going to be happier. If you need more bullet, get a bigger gun.
And that's kind of why I was looking for a 54 Sharps. I could easily put 100 grains into that CVA Bobcat. But you shot it at 65 grains, 65 grains, right? I can't remember if it was 60 or 65. And it was a nice, soft, felt recoil. Well, it is for me. It's not a heavy. It doesn't feel heavy like a nice big thump, like it's trying to punch you in the face. But it's accurate as well.
Accurate, manageable, and reliable.
Yeah.
And effective.
And I found that load works perfectly for that Bobcat using the bullets that I have. Patch round balls, Lee real bullets, 60, 65 grains. It hits at 35 yards, the same as it hits at 100 yards. It's just you got to adjust your point of aim. But I needed I wanted something a little bit bigger because those Lee real bullets don't always drop the hog. I've hit one with the Lee real bullet here recently before you came down. It hit the hog. It was a good shot, but the hog ran 20 yards before it dropped. That made me feel like shit. That made me feel like shit. That hog should have been down over what that made me feel like the lowest scum on earth. Seeing it run 20 yards before it dropped.
I got one better. I got a buddy that hit a hog probably about 275, 3¼ pounds. He hit it in the shoulder with a 45-70 with a 500 grain bullet, and it bounced off the shoulder. It broke the hog's shoulder, but he ran off on 3 legs. It didn't penetrate. It didn't get any vitals. Never caught it again. So
yeah, but can you see what I mean? It just that made me feel bad, and so I'm like, okay, no. I'm gonna work up the load. I'm gonna get it right. I'm gonna do some penetration tests. I'm going to make sure that this 54 that will never ever happen again. I just don't want it to happen.
I'm gonna have to tell y'all good night. It's almost 1 o'clock, and I need to.
Yeah, I meant to stop it like 50 minutes ago, so I'm gonna say good night too, guys. There's a lot of great stuff in the comments, but
Can I mention? Yeah. Just ask questions and open forum.
What's that?
Can I mention the group?
Oh yeah, that's fine.
If any of y'all want to join, we got a pretty good group. There's almost 7,000 people in it. And our passion is black powder revolvers and rifles, which is part of the name. But we talk about a lot of stuff there. It's both modern and historical. So if any of you want to swing by sometime, me and Jeremy and a lot of great people. They're some of the best folks on the internet. It's called All Things Cowboy, Black Powder Revolvers and Rifles. Y'all come on by, make yourself at home. Feel free to request, and either me or Jeremy or one of the admins I'll prove you in.
Yeah, I have to. Yeah, you gotta. I don't think you've made my new Facebook account moderator yet on that group. but we can handle that some other time.
All right. Well,
Because I think you're using the Jeremy Gunslinger account because of just, well, you kind of know what's going on. I don't want it going all out here on Facebook because that's not Facebook, YouTube, because that's, I'm trying to leave that there because it's over with. It's done with now, finally. But anyway, guys, night or morning, wherever y'all are at. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.
Y'all be good.